exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what you're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
With the help of everyone in this room, 83 days from now. Can you imagine 83 days? We're almost there. We got to get it. We're going to defeat super liberal, more liberal than Bernie Sanders. Did you hear that? The most liberal person in the Senate. Can you believe that? We're going to defeat Kamala Harris. We're going to win back the White House in a historic landslide. And we're going to take back our country. We're going to take it back.
Well, we're pretty sure she's liberal based on all of her past comments. The weird thing is that whenever you hear anything from Kamala Harris, any clips that we're playing, or really almost any news outlet is playing, they're all from years ago because she doesn't talk to anybody anymore. She's doing a couple rallies here and there, but she's not talking to the media. I am Ryan Wiggins filling in for Annie Fry. Annie had planned to be here, but about an hour and a half ago, we found out, wow, she is having a bad migraine. So we are stepping in, and Brad prepared the show just the same as usual. We're going to talk to Hans von Spakovsky here in just a few minutes about some of the Trump stuff. I'm actually going to talk a little bit about Kamala and her insistence that we use paper ballots. Again, though, that's a years-old comment because she doesn't say anything now. We're going to talk about that with Hans and all of the election integrity issues and some of the Trump stuff regarding Manhattan and him trying to delay the sentencing. Trump gave a big speech yesterday, though, and it was all about the economy. We are going to talk about that, too, because that seems to be the driver in this election, aside from personality. Now, we did a YouTube live chat poll once that asked the question, what is the biggest issue, or what do you think the biggest determining factor is going to be in this election? And I think one of the choices was immigration, social issues like abortion, transgender, stuff like that, economy, and personality, I believe were the four. And you guys chose overwhelmingly. I was surprised by this. Economy. That economy is going to be the number one driver of the election. I think you're right. The problem is that personality gets so much of the attention beyond where it really should, because the issues are what matters. And Kamala is unfortunately not really addressing any of them. She's not talking about any issues at all because she's not talking. I hesitate to throw all media under the bus for not calling her out on this, because when you think of media, I mean, and I'm sure a lot of you yell at the radio when we are hammering the media because you're like, you guys are the media. And we're like, well, yes, but we don't have access to the press briefing room.
Well, they generally deny a request for Kamala Harris as well.
And we would love to interview the president. If Donald Trump had friendly territory, it would be here. He is invited anytime. So is Kamala Harris. Yes. So is Joe Biden, whoever. In fact, politicians from all over the spectrum are always invited here. In fact, we're often reaching out to them. We just know that if we're only on in St. Louis, if we were to syndicate, they might start going, oh, yeah, we'll talk to the entire Midwest or all of Missouri or Illinois. But St. Louis is no longer a battleground area. Illinois, Missouri, you kind of know which way they're going to go. So the politicians, the big ones, they don't put us on their radar. So when I say the media is not asking Kamala the right questions or pressing her to do press conferences, I'm not talking about KMOV. I'm not talking about us here in St. Louis press. I'm sure anybody here would take those interviews. Mm-hmm. The problem is there's only a handful of outlets that have the access, and not just the access to the president or presidents, but the ability to even press those issues. There's only about, let's say, a dozen outlets that could even put the pressure on to do that. So while we live in a very multimedia, more than ever society, which is great to have that many voices and to really democratize the amount of voices out there commenting on these things, it's still the legacy media still has so much control because of their access to these people. And that's by design. They don't want to give everybody access, and the people at the top tend to not to want to either. Donald Trump right now is giving access to anybody, influencers. He's doing podcasts. He's talking to Elon Musk. He's going way outside the boundaries of traditional media, and that is a strategy, and we'll see if it works. Kamala Harris isn't doing anything, nothing. She will not do, and I've been very, very specific about saying this too, it's not just interviews, Brad.
Right.
It's not just that she won't do interviews, because right now she's not.
Right.
It's press conferences.
Yes.
Because you can stage an interview, and she will.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Those interviews will be edited and chopped together, and they will get the Harris campaign final approval before they can go out.
Yeah. So you can stage an interview. You can stage a few interviews. In fact, most of the friendly media that she's going to do will be very, very complimentary.
Mm-hmm.
They're not pressing her for a reason. If they get that interview, they're not going to press her in the interview because they want to keep having interviews with her, and they want to be the one that she goes to if she chooses to do them. But I will say, Jim Acosta is saying some stuff right now that I'm like, hey man, you look almost like a journalist.
Oh,
it's incredible because when you're in the press briefing room, we've seen the way that you treat Donald Trump versus the way you treat any Democrat, and it's very, very different. But it's in moments like this that I sometimes feel like maybe even the Jim Acostas, the CNNs, are feeling pressure from like their own journalistic instincts or background that, yeah, it's really not okay that a person has announced a historic presidential candidate, like, boom, out of nowhere, you're the candidate. You would think you'd be everywhere.
Right.
She's nowhere.
Right. We've talked about, we've heard the Democrats ad nauseum talking about the threat to democracy and how they have to protect our democracy and how all this stuff is. But really, if you stop and think about it, a presidential campaign candidate that refuses to get out there, refuses to define anything that they stand for, refuses to lay out their policy plans, I don't think she has any policies on her website yet. It's been almost a month now since she's been president, and she's been vice president for years. She's back and forth on whether or not she is part of the Biden-Harris campaign, the administration, all that other stuff. KJP says she is. Harris is like, I don't know, maybe I'm not. Maybe not Bidenomics, maybe Bidenomics. She's all over the place on that, and she's able to do that because nobody's pressing her. But if you have a presidential candidate that refuses to talk to the people who she is saying, I want to serve you by leading, that is a threat to democracy because you can't make an informed choice as a voter. If Donald Trump were doing the same thing, the left would be losing their minds.
It only is going to be a problem for her when voters decide that it's a problem. And the problem for her is that voters are deciding that it's a problem. Slowly but surely, you got the Dems in your corner. You're not going to lose them, but you need the middle. You need the moderates, and the moderates are starting to ask that question. When you lose Jim Acosta, back to old Jim, when you lose Jim Acosta, then you're starting to lose the narrative, and things might change. Jim Acosta had a guy named, I think, Michael Tyler. It just said our Kamala campaign at the bottom. I think his name was Michael Tyler. He is a spokesperson for the Kamala Harris campaign. Now, he's willing to do media, apparently, but Kamala Harris, the presidential candidate, is not. So Jim Acosta asked him some very pointed questions.
Michael, I'm sure this is not going to be the first time you've heard this question, but the Trump campaign is also going after the vice president for not doing enough interviews, for not holding a press conference. Would it kill you guys to have a press conference? Why hasn't she had a press conference?
Listen, the vice president and Governor Walz have been busy crisscrossing this country since the launch of this campaign and adding Governor Walz to the ticket. You saw the ways in which they went across the battleground states last week, generating rallies of thousands, 10,000 here, 15,000 there.
This is the job of the media. Good on Jim Acosta for asking a very, very obvious question. Why isn't she doing press conferences? I'm really glad that he said that too, because it's not just interviews. It's press conferences. Are you willing to stand up and take questions at large from a variety of outlets? Joe Biden did it, and the press played along and did it by note cards. I'm hoping that we're not going to see that from Kamala, because it would be almost too obvious if she did that. But did you hear what the campaign strategist said there? He said, well, you know, why haven't you done a press conference? We've been busy. Yeah. It's one of the only things.
Oh, man.
Oh, shoot, we forgot.
Nobody's busy.
we forgot to do that.
Busy doing everything except for what you should be doing as a presidential candidate.
We're reaching out directly to the voters. Well, you know where the voters are? They watch the news.
Mm-hmm.
They listen to programs like this. They listen to the radio. They're on podcasts. They're online. They want to hear from you. And so when you start to lose Jim Acosta, you're going to have to change things. Again, kudos to Jim Acosta, because he didn't just allow that to sit. He could have just moved on, said, hey, I asked the question, I get credit for it. But he goes on.
But Michael, you know, a campaign rally is not a press conference. Do you mind if I cut in? I mean, you know, a campaign rally is not a press conference. Why isn't she at a press conference? She's the vice president. She can handle the questions. Why not do it?
Oh, we absolutely are going to do it. You hear her take questions as she's out on the stump. And
no, you don't.
As she said last week, we're going to be having a sit-down interview here before the end of the month. What she's going to be focused on and what this campaign is going to be focused on is communicating directly with the voters that are actually going to decide the pathway to 270 electoral votes. That's why she and Governor
commit
Walz
to a press conference
went across
this week?
the country this past week. That's why we're doing a bus tour in Pennsylvania as we head into Chicago. And it's why we'll sit down for an interview before the end of the month.
So it wasn't just that he said it once, twice. He said, look, we got this covered. We're going to sit down for an interview by the end of this month. There's 84 days until the election. They said this on August 14th. That still gives them over 2 weeks to do one interview. One. They're not doing it because she's so bad at it. And everybody knows it. And the more you point it out, the more you're forcing her to step into territory that she's not good in. So it's a great strategy. Mm-hmm. The problem is the media also knows this. So they're generally not asking her to do it because they know that she's bad at it. Jim Acosta, again, is doing a great job here. And I don't care where it's from. I'm just glad that somebody's doing it, because nobody else is doing this. But Jim Acosta doesn't just stop there. Now, this is the last clip, but he presses this guy again and says, look, you're committing to doing an interview before the end of the month?
I don't want to, belabor this, but one interview before the end of the month. I mean, that's not a lot. I mean, can you commit to a press conference before the end of the month?
We will commit to directly engage with the voters that are actually going to decide this election. And that is going to be complete with rallies, with sit-down interviews, with press conferences, with all the digital assets that we have at our disposal. We are running a campaign that is built to communicate with the voters that are actually going to decide the pathway to 270 electoral votes. We are confident in the plan that we have in place, and we're going to execute on that plan.
I believe him there on that last statement. We are confident with the plan that we have in place. What he's saying there, Ryan, and I don't want to step on what you have, but what he's saying there is we will do everything in our power to communicate to the American people as long as we can control everything about what is going to happen and what is going to be said. We don't want anything outside of our control. We'll use all of our digital assets, and we'll go straight to the American people. That means that we're going to record messages, we're going to record ads, and we're going to tell you what we believe, sort of.
Yeah, it's very, very, very controlled because everybody knows that she's not very good at this. And that's the problem with really good Soviet propaganda, is that you do need somebody who can carry it for you. And the last couple election cycles, they haven't had a great person to do that. If you have bad policies, you need somebody who's really slick at pulling them off. And they haven't had it. So it's weird to see the veil pulled back over the last couple cycles on how the media kind of does this with good candidates when you see them doing it with bad candidates, and how they're able to still kind of use that whole apparatus, but you can see through it a lot worse when the candidate's not very good. Now, that one interview that the campaign strategist was talking about doing there before the end of the month, I don't know if this is what he was referring to, But Kamala Harris did an interview, and it apparently is either dropped right before we went on here or it's going to drop today. You know, when I say it's going to drop, that means it's highly edited.
Yes, it's already been recorded.
It's recorded, and it's been done, and it's going to be very, very shiny. Kamala Harris sat down for an in-depth interview. She was interviewed by Tim Walz.
Oh, gosh. So not a journalist.
Her vice presidential candidate is the only interview that she's done is with her own VP choice. Now, again, I haven't gotten a chance to see the full thing.
Mm-hmm.
Fox News, right before we went on, had a chyron that said Kamala Harris sits down with Walz to talk about tacos and breakfast and phones and stuff.
Oh, so not the campaign.
So it looks like a little bit of a J.B. Pritzker campaign where he knew he was going to win in Illinois, and so he just kind of talked about fun stuff like, who's your favorite Backstreet Boy? And that kind of stuff. That looks like the interview that she's done with her vice president. I did pull the trailer. You want to hear it?
Yes,
I was hoping maybe we wouldn't have to.
I called you, Tim.
Yes.
You didn't answer, Tim.
I know.
What happened?
The most important call of my life. It popped up, and we didn't recognize the caller ID, and it went to voicemail.
Hi, this is Tim. I'm not able to answer.
There you go.
Responsible. Thank you.
Hey, Tim, it's Kamala. I really want to talk to you.
It is an amazing privilege. I'm excited. I just want to be part of the excitement that you're generating.
Well, we're doing it together, buddy.
It's fun.
We're doing it together.
That's the substance of the campaign right there, Brad.
Man.
It really is. That's what they're running on.
Yeah, it's a mile wide and an inch deep.
It's a feeling. They want you to feel good about this because politics is dirty. It's yucky. It doesn't make people feel good. A lot of people don't like talking about it. But if you can make people feel okay about it, maybe they'll vote for you. Maybe they'll forget everything that you've done in the last 4 years, the policies that you stand for. You can change them a little bit. The media will carry that water for you. But this is the campaign. I mean, we're seeing it. The campaign is exactly what you said, a mile wide and an inch deep.
And the question to you as the voter is, will you let them get away with not talking to you? Will you let them get away with not telling you what they plan to do with your life for the next 4 years? Ryan, you said it at the beginning. The only way this strategy works is if voters let them get away with it.
Yeah, because the media will have to respond at some point. I'm glad to see that maybe they're starting to ask those questions. Questions about why she won't take questions. I'm Ryan Wiggins, filling in for Annie Fry today, along with Brad Range. It's really the Manny Fry Show because we're just kind of without Annie. It's the rest of us filling in. Hans von Spakovsky joins us every Thursday at 12:25. We're running a little late, so that'll be 12:27-ish today. That's coming up next here on the Annie Fry Show.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
It is so hot. I mean, it's expected here at times, especially this time of year in St. Louis. But man, and when it gets this hot, I've heard the egg farmers are having a serious problem. That's just what I heard. Again, it might be true, it might not. It sounds like it sounds like it probably is true that the chicken farmers are having trouble having the eggs because it's so hot. When the chickens lay the egg, it becomes a baby chick. That's hot. So I can only imagine what it is in your house. Well, I don't have to imagine. I've been in your houses when your air conditioner is not working or when it breaks. So if yours is broken or it's not cooling really good, call me, Bart Inman. One easy number, Missouri and Illinois, the easiest of numbers, 314-293-2600, or on the internet, bartinman.com. Now that is a Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
Hey, St. Louis, are you in search of top-notch cybersecurity solutions? Look no further. ThrottleNet is here to help. Ransomware attacks are on the rise, putting businesses like yours at risk. Don't let cyber criminals jeopardize your hard-earned success. ThrottleNet provides comprehensive cybersecurity services tailored specifically to your unique needs. Our award-winning customer service provides 24/7 protection to keep your data safe and secure. Take charge of your digital security today. Protect your business, protect your future. ThrottleNet.com, your reliable partner in cybersecurity.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
Are you ready to smell better naked? I'm Dr. Shannon Klingman, the OBGYN creator of Lumi, the whole body deodorant that's clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours on pits, feet, privates, and beyond. It's pH optimized to safely and effectively control odor anywhere you have it, but wish you didn't. Plus, it's proven to work better than a shower with soap alone. Whether you shower twice a day or 3 times a week, Lumi works better. And who doesn't want zero body odor? With over 200,000 5-star reviews, I'm so sure you're going to love it, or you can return it for free.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code BETTER and get 15% off your first purchase with code BETTER, like the Lumi Starter Pack, acidified body wash, or new Lumi Plus Sweat Control. That's LUME deodorant.com, code BETTER for 15% off your first purchase. Love it or return it for free. That's LUME deodorant.com, code BETTER to save 15% today.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is celebrating 55 years of residential and commercial service, maintenance, and installation of heating and cooling systems. Get in your comfort zone. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. 97.1 FM Talk. You're here, and so are St. Louis's conservative thought leaders. St. Louis's home for conservative talk. 97.1 FM Talk. You're listening to The Annie Fry Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk. Follow Annie on Twitter @Annie Fry Show.
Well, I heard you crying loud all the way across town.
And we have a bill that basically would require states to upgrade their elections infrastructure, because guess what? Going like back to the future, best and smartest way to conduct voting, paper ballots. Paper ballots. I joke and I say paper ballots because Russia can't hack a piece of paper. The best and most secure way to conduct elections, paper ballots. Because the way that I say it, kind of half joking, Russia can't hack a piece of paper. The most secure way to vote, paper. You're right. And, and so this is great. Now, it would be great if the Republican leader would put these bills on the floor for a vote.
Well, there's some wise policy decisions. This is Ryan Wiggins filling in for Annie Fry, who very, very last minute had to cancel because of some migraine issues. So we're stepping up today. Hans von Spakovsky joins us every Thursday at this time. He's a senior legal fellow at Heritage Foundation. Hans, thanks for being here.
Sure, thanks for having me.
So I led with that clip of Kamala Harris on 3 different instances saying the same thing about supporting paper ballots. That was all before 2020, though. I don't know what changed in 2020 that she doesn't really have that position anymore, but you wrote the book on it, Our Broken Elections, How the Left Changed the Way You Vote. I wanted to start there, Hans, because we got a big election coming up, and a lot of people are just concerned about the integrity of their vote. How do you feel going into November?
Well, I tell you, I feel better than I did going into 2020 because a number of states improved their election process, passing good reforms. Missouri actually was one of them. But that didn't happen all over the country. You know, places like California, New York are some of the worst states in the country. Michigan, as you know, is a big battleground state. They made things a lot worse by doing things like gutting their voter ID law so that you no longer have to show a real ID to vote there. You can just sign a form saying, yeah, I'm really anti-Fry, so you need to let me vote. So really, it depends on what state you're in. Overall, we're probably in better shape, but we're not perfect, and there's still problems in a lot of areas.
Hans, this isn't a problem that just started 4 years ago. I mean, having integrity in elections, as we just played the clip from Kamala Harris, this is something that Democrats have been talking about for years too. So for whatever reason, they've decided now, though, well, Trump said it, so now I'm against it.
No, that is true, very much so. You know, what's so weird about this is that, look, if you go back to 2005, at that time, there was actually a great report on reforms issued by Jimmy Carter, right? Former Democratic president, and James Baker, former Republican Secretary of State under Reagan. And it had all these great reforms, bipartisan, people agreed on, like requiring an ID to vote. And then since then, it has become such a partisan issue with Democrats totally not only backing away from those kind of good reforms, but actually now being against things like voter ID. By the way, Kamala Harris, you know, she's on numerous occasions said that requiring an ID is discriminatory and suppression, but you probably saw that in a recent rally she had in Arizona. Guess what you needed to get into the rally? A photo ID.
Well, that's discriminatory, though. They don't want some people in there, I guess, in their rallies. Hans, let me ask you this, and it's a little bit in the weeds, but I think it's a question that's worth diving into. When we talk about paper ballots, whether it's Kamala Harris talking about it or it's Donald Trump or anybody else saying, yeah, paper ballots are the way to go. Why is it that's the sticking point? Like, what is it about paper ballots that makes them so much better than any other way of voting?
Well, what folks are worried about is the electronic voting machines that are used in some places. For example, Georgia. In Georgia, if you walk into a polling place, all they have are electronic voting machines that work kind of like ATM screens, so the kind you get your money out of the bank. Well, folks are worried about them being hacked, about viruses being put into them. I would agree that using paper ballots is probably the best way to vote, as long as you're not talking about hand counting them. If you're talking about the kind of system that most places now have of using what's called an OptiScan paper ballot. In other words, yeah, you fill out a paper ballot, but then it's counted by a computer scanner. That's the best way for conducting election, because that way you have an audit trail. Yeah, you got a computer scanning, totaling it up, but if there's any questions about the outcome, yeah, then you can always hand count the ballots. But folks who want to go to completely hand counting, one, that is impractical. Can you imagine trying to do that in a big city like New York or Los Angeles, where you have millions of votes being cast? And second, the more people handling a paper ballot, the greater the chance that someone can engage in fraud. So hand counting, that's not a good idea. Paper ballots with a good audit trail, that is a good idea.
I'm glad you made that distinction, because that's actually one of the reasons I asked the question. You kind of hear people going to both extremes, and the answer is in the middle, because you still have to have an election, and you want to count the ballots quickly. If you hand count them, it takes a long, long time, and then you're opening up the opportunity for more fraud there too, like you said.
Yep, no, that is unfortunately very true. Now, one thing that people need to remember, and you would think Kamala Harris would know this, but you know that there's actually a federal law in place. Even in places where they want to only have paper ballots, there's a federal law in place passed in 2002 that requires at least one voting machine in every polling place that can be used by people who are disabled, but particularly people who are blind. Blind individuals cannot vote using a paper ballot. They have to have an electronic machine that's got an auditory narrator showing you through. So even if we want to make this switch, currently under federal law, at least every polling place in the country is still going to have at least one electronic voting machine.
It's true. And the Freedom to Vote Act would have done a lot more than just that. That was one that I keep a little piece of paper around all the time because I want to remember what Democrats were trying to do to federal elections in 2021. Hans, I didn't even intend to go there with you, but real quick, the Freedom to Vote Act was 1 or 2 votes away from getting rid of the filibuster and changing elections the way that we know them forever in 2021. Do you remember some of the specifics of that act?
Yeah, it was an 800-page monstrosity, and it basically would have taken over the running of elections from the states, and it did things like it said no state can have a voter ID law. I mean, it literally banned voter ID laws in all the states, required same-day voter registration, automatic voter registration, and a whole series of other changes that would have, boy, you think we're worried about the security of elections now? If that federal bill had passed, the Democrats are pushing, we would be in much worse shape today.
Well, and it will pass if Kamala Harris wins and they take back the Senate. That will be the way elections go. I hate to say it, but it sounds like fear-mongering, but it's literally based on things they already have drawn up. So it's really not.
That's right.
That's what they're going to do. Hans von Spakovsky on the phone with a senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation. I'm glad that we talked about that. I did want to talk a little bit about what Trump is trying to get done today. It's been in the news that he is trying to delay the sentencing that he's supposed to receive until after the election in Manhattan. What is his logic for trying to do that? And then will it be successful?
That obviously ought to be done, and the judge ought to grant it to avoid interfering with the election process. But it won't be granted by this judge because this has got to be one of the most biased judges in the country. He should not have never been on the case. He refused to recuse himself despite the fact that he has violated judicial ethics rules in New York by actually making a contribution to the Biden campaign. His daughter is in the business of making money as a political consultant for Democrats off of that. He's got to be, like I said, one of those unethical judges in the country. And his rulings in the case were also always against Trump, always in favor of the prosecution. So Donald Trump, no matter how right he is on this issue, is not going to get a good decision from this judge.
So, Hans, what is going to happen then? What's the date of the sentencing as it is now? And then what are the possible outcomes?
Well, it's in mid-September, and I think this judge, given his unbelievable partisan bias, will sentence Donald Trump to jail. And Trump is going to have to immediately file an appeal asking that be stayed while his appeal is pending.
Oh, gosh, that's amazing. Since we just have... Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's astonishing. It's like the state of New York is the U.S. version of Venezuela.
Yeah, I mean, no argument. When you try to put political candidates in jail on things that have never been. I mean, I think I've heard you talking to Annie before, and maybe some others say this is something that's never been used. It's not as if this is a law and you go, well, you did break it. Maybe we're going a little tough on you because you're our political opponent. This is a law that didn't exist before they made it up to use it against him in this extreme fashion.
No, that is exactly the situation, and it was a biased political prosecutor and a biased political judge that put this in place.
Well, Hans, I am glad to be able to talk to you this week, and I get to listen to you every week here on the Annie Frey Show. I always appreciate your legal insights. Thanks for your time.
Sure, thanks for having me.
Hans von Spakovsky is the Senior Legal Fellow at Heritage Foundation. Of course, joins us every Thursday here on the Annie Frey Show. If you're listening right now and you're going, hey, where's Annie? Well, she'll hopefully be back tomorrow. She was just a little sick today. She got a last-minute bad migraine, and so we are the B team. We've been called up. I think we're just going to stand in.
B team for the boys.
Yeah, the boys.
We're the boys.
Yeah, not the B as in like A,
It's,
B.
it's not a letter grade.
No, we're doing a great job. This is Ryan Wiggins filling in for Annie Fry. Hey, before we run and we get to, I don't know, what are we calling this next segment? Wiggins America? The whole show is Wiggins America. I do want to mention today's YouTube live chat poll because we were kind of just talking about it with Hans. Will there be any more large surprises before Election Day? You can call that an October surprise, but I didn't want to say October because it could happen at any time. Will there be any more large surprises before Election Day? We've just gone through a season where there were so many that you almost couldn't keep up with them, and people who don't pay attention to politics were walking into my office here from around Odyssey going, what is happening? So everybody's been paying attention to it. Will there be any of those kind of events before Election Day? And I'll ask you this question, Brad. Would putting Donald Trump in jail or saying that he has to go, because he may not be behind bars.
Would that be a surprise?
Would that be one? I mean, would that rise to that level, do you think?
Yeah, that'd be an election surprise. I don't know that I would be surprised by it. I mean,
but does that qualify as a
for sure.
whoa moment?
For sure, because I mean that at that moment it gets real. It becomes real. It's like right now it's just all talk. We thought, they just wanted to give him the label, but when in reality they just really want to put him in prison, essentially for challenging their hold on power.
Does that backfire, though?
Maybe. Hey, did you tell them about the new feature?
No, I haven't told them about the new feature. Do you want to do it?
Yeah, I want to do it.
All right.
All right, so we got a new feature on the app, and since Ryan was talking about the poll, I wanted to mention this on the air. We have voice messaging available through the Odyssey app. So if you go and you download the Odyssey app, AUDACY, and you go to the 97.1 page, there's a little microphone that pops up whenever you're listening to the stream. If you click that microphone, you can leave us a voice message, and that voice message will go back here to our producer area. We'll cut that voice message, and we will use it in the show if it's apropos. We're not going to use like hate mail or just random nonsense or anything like that. So I'll give you guys a task. We've read the poll to you. Call into or use the app. Leave a voicemail and tell us what you think on the Annie Fry YouTube live chat poll. Will there be any more large surprises before the election day? We want to know what you think, and if you want to venture a guess of what one of those surprises might be, go ahead and leave us a message.
I've got a very interesting Wiggins America. This is some kind of weird stuff that I've been storing up that I decided, you know what, today is the day. I brought in, I'm just going to hold this up, maybe not all the way because it's got my address on it, but I got my Ameren bill in the mail. I'm just going to go over it with you. Does that sound like interesting radio? It shouldn't. That sounds like the opposite of interesting radio, which has got to make you think, what's his angle here? Stick around. You'll find out.
This is the Annie Fry Show. The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
At Onder Law, we deliver big judgments for the little guy. Onder Law takes on the biggest industries and holds them accountable. Call today for a free review at 314 or 618-9000000.
You've listened to 97.1 FM Talk. You've heard of Doug Voss of Voss Financial and Safe Money Radio, as he has been a staple as the financial expert on the station for many years. You can hear him on Safe Money Radio several times a weekend right here on 97.1 FM Talk. And you can talk to Doug Voss directly. Here's his number. Call Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That is 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through D.H. Hill Securities, LLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Attention, Missouri residents in need of care at home. If you have Medicaid and need assistance with daily activities, you can receive free in-home care from a loved one, funded by Medicaid with no cost to you. Freedom Care, Missouri's #1 home care provider, gives you the power to choose who provides your care, and they get paid instantly. Imagine your daughter, son, a close relative, or trusted friend helping you with cooking, transportation, laundry, and other activities in your own home. You get the help you need, and your caregiver gets paid instantly after their shift. Freedom Care has over 5,000 five-star Google reviews and is #1 in Missouri for in-home care. If you have Medicaid and want great care from a loved one that's 100% free to you, go to freedomcare.com or call 314-557-3027. That's 314-557-3027. 314-557-3027.
Today's YouTube live chat poll. Will there be any more large surprises before Election Day? Yes or no? Simple answer. What we need you to do is jump on Annie's YouTube page and vote in the poll. And then you can leave us a comment saying what you voted and why you voted the way you voted. Or you can use the Odyssey app to leave us a voicemail saying what you voted and why you voted the way you voted. The time right now is 12:46, and this time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The Focus Marines Foundation is here to help veterans transition from service to civilian life, and we're here to support them. This is Mark Cox inviting you to get involved in this month's Conservatives Care effort by visiting 971talk.com.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter @AnnieFryShow.
They say it's the most important subject. I think crime is right there. I think the border is right there, personally. We have a lot of important subjects because our country has become a third world nation. We literally are a third world nation. We're a banana republic in so many ways, and we're not going to let that happen because we're starting a free fall. But from today and from the day I take the oath of office, we will rapidly drive prices down and make America affordable again. We're going to make it affordable again.
Make America affordable again. That's why I have my hat on. This is Ryan Wiggins, and Brad Range is in here too. He didn't laugh at that joke, so I kind of feel like real self-conscious right now. But I'm just going to go for it. This is supposed to be the time when Wiggins America airs, but and I kind of brought some stuff a little behind the scenes on when you tune into the live stream, which is up again today. So if you want to watch the show ever, you type in Annie Fry on multiple platforms. YouTube is the one where we always have the poll. Today it's, will there be any more large surprises before Election Day? Yes or no? Let us know. But if you're watching us there and you see us during commercial breaks, you know, sometimes we're just sitting here doing work. Other times we're talking and we're talking about all kinds of stuff. One of the random things that I think is kind of a hobby for at least me and Annie, maybe you too, Brad, we like traveling, and we're, I guess, well, I know that I am very frugal. And so flights can be really expensive. So we're always talking about like tips and tricks on how to get more points in Southwest and like all these things that we're always trying to see if we can lower the price of flights when we go out of town, because it's just kind of like a game that we are sharing tips on all the time. I haven't shared this with, I don't think, Annie, but I may have told you, Brad, that I'm going to Denver in mid-September, like with a guy's trip, just a weekend thing. I was going to fly out on Thursday, so I would miss that Thursday, Friday. But I saw that the day before, there was a flight leaving that evening that was so much cheaper that I couldn't resist it. The flight from here to Denver nonstop, $19. A $19 nonstop flight.
Holy cow.
I don't know that I could beat that ever, even with using points and using all the tricks and systems. It was just a super cheap flight. So I booked it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. And like the thrill of the hunt is just as much fun as the actual trip for me. So I get this flight and I look at the details of it once I got it. The flight itself cost 7 cents. The other 18 whatever dollars, $18.93 or whatever, was taxes and fees. So so of the $19, 7 cents of it is going to the airline. The rest is just U.S. government taxes and fees. I bring that up because, A, that's astonishing.
Yeah.
And I literally think you cannot get a cheaper flight than that because you're going to pay the fees regardless.
Yeah.
So unless they lower it from 7 cents to 1, I think that's unbeatable.
They beat it by 6 cents. Because if they don't charge you, then there's no taxes on it, right?
I don't know how that works. I can't remember because I think we've booked like some companion pass things before where one of the flights would have been free.
Oh,
And
who am I
think,
kidding?
I think you still do have to pay the
They
fees,
can tax
though.
you on whatever they
Yeah,
want.
I don't think you get around it. I think you have to pay all of the TSA stuff. All that stuff is still on every single ticket, as far as I know. The reason I bring that up is because I brought an Ameren bill in that I got, and it's expensive. Electric is up, everything's up, and it's driving me crazy. It's probably driving you crazy too. How much you got to pay for electricity, and your heating and air is like the biggest part of that. So I was looking for the first time, and never do this because it's so boring, but I was looking at the charges, just like an airline fee, of what comes with this electricity. So some of the money that I'm paying is for the electricity. I'm fine with that. I wish it were lower. I wish we'd drill, baby, drill. I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. But I live in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
You live in Illinois.
Same.
I don't know if Missouri's this bad. I really don't. But I'm looking at state and local taxes and other mandated charges. I started to read through these, and I was, I guess, a little shocked at how many of them there are. So while energy prices are up, the government is also charging you a lot more than you really need. Let me read for you some of these taxes and fees that you're paying every month. If you live in Illinois, and I don't know about Missouri, but if you live in Illinois, you are paying these every single month. And because they are based on a percentage, because your bills are so much higher, that percentage is also higher.
Mm-hmm.
So Illinois is making more money on you than they ever have because of things like the Clean Energy Assistance Charge, the Coal to Solar and Energy Storage Charge, Renewable Energy Adjustment, the EDT Cost Recovery. I don't even know what that is. Electric Environmental Adjustment, Energy Efficiency Programs Charge, Energy Transition Assistance Charge, Utility-Owned Solar and Storage Adjustment Charge, and then there's some local taxes in there too. You notice a trend with all of those charges? They're all different green energy charges. I don't know what I'm getting out of that. I definitely know what I'm paying for it.
Well, yeah, it's so they can subsidize green energy because it's not as efficient as traditional energy methods, quote unquote, old fashioned energy methods. But we got to subsidize it because, save the planet and all this other stuff that they say that we need to do because in 12 years we're done.
Yeah, super happy to see that on my bill, that I've been paying all this, and it added up to a total of over $50 of my bill.
It's kind of like whenever you have those. Do you have those salespeople that come by your house and be like, "Hey, Illinois is offering this great deal on solar.
Yes,
and we can put these solar panels on your roof, and it won't cost you a dime." Well, part of that is they're making everybody pay for it.
Yeah, you're
on
paying
their bill.
for it. You're already paying for it. Illinois does have huge subsidies. The federal government has huge subsidies for those things. I've always been kind of interested in solar. Now, here's the weird thing. I had a buddy who was, an acquaintance, not like good friend, but I had worked with him on some things before, who did energy efficient homes. And he kind of got into that market in, let's say, 2016, 17, maybe even a little bit before that, when it looked like, man, this is the future. People are going to want to live off the grid. People are going to want to live energy efficient, which I think is super cool. And I think he's a conservative too. Mm-hmm. So there's this whole like living outside of the government thing that is really appealing. The problem is multiple. One, Illinois won't let you get off the grid.
No.
And I don't know, again, another thing, I don't know if Missouri will. Maybe a lot of states are like this. But even if your home is fully self-sufficient, you do not need a drop of Illinois oil, whatever that is, or coal.
Power.
If you don't need anything from Illinois, it doesn't matter. You still have to hook up to Illinois because they don't want you off the grid. They want you a part of the system.
Well, they got to pay. They got to charge and pay for those subsidies.
The other thing is that because he was in business doing this, so he wasn't like publicly advertising this all over the place. But if you asked him, he'd tell you. He wasn't going to lie to you. He'd say, look, and he built a really cool big house, and he was kind of using his own house as like the model house for his business. So he had solar and he had wind and he had a bunch of other cool stuff that would have made him completely off the grid. He said, solar is almost there. And again, this is almost 10 years ago. Solar is almost there where it could sustain you. But at the time, you couldn't store it for long enough for it to matter.
Yeah.
Well, the batteries have improved to where now that actually is much better than it was 10 years ago, and it will continue to improve. You know who's actually innovated a lot on that? Elon Musk. He made batteries that held way more energy than anybody had ever done, and this was a few years ago. The other thing is, what he told me was wind power is worthless. And he had a windmill in his yard. So he's like, look, that right there is for show. That right there is for subsidies. It's for all the stuff that comes along with having a windmill that people can see. But it does nothing because you just can't make the thing turn fast enough, long enough. It's not about storage with wind. It's that it just doesn't generate enough.
It doesn't generate enough.
And so all those big wind-powered fields that you see when you drive from one big city to another in the middle of nowhere that are all government propped up, those things would not be there if it weren't for your tax dollars on your energy bills paying for them, and they do almost nothing. It's not that they don't generate any energy. It's that they don't generate enough to offset the cost. And that is coming from people who are in the industry, I'm telling you. Well, I'm Ryan Wiggins, filling in with Brad Range for Annie Fry today. She is a little under the weather. I'm sure she'll be back tomorrow for a great Friday show. As far as I know, we are going to talk to Tyrus next. What are we going to talk to Tyrus about? Well, I got a whole bunch of Kamala sound and Trump sound from yesterday, so I imagine we'll probably start there. Stick around.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility in this election year? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 38 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Hey, it's Tom Ackerman. Where do you go for your annual eye health examination? Ophthalmology Associates, of course. Doctors Greg Birdie and Ranjan Malhotra. Dr. Robert Bersati, he's the one I saw, or Dr. Andrew Royer. They are available to you and are there to take care of all your vision needs at Ophthalmology Associates. They're on Manchester Road, a half mile west of 270. Your vision is their business at Ophthalmology Associates. In fact, many of their patients are doctors themselves. That's why they call themselves the doctors, Ophthalmology Associates. Are your eyes itchy and scratchy? It could be more than just allergies. They're the leaders in dry eye diagnosis and treatment. They're the leaders in LASIK and discussing those procedures. And if you're having difficulty reading or driving at night, you have glare from oncoming headlights, could be early signs of cataracts, and they can talk to you about multifocal lens implants. Ophthalmology Associates, youridoc.com.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio.
That's GetJim.com.
97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is a Fox News alert. Multiple arrests made in Matthew Perry's death. I'm Lisa Brady. Federal prosecutors say 5 people, including 2 doctors, took advantage of the actor's addiction issues, supplying him with large amounts of ketamine.
Defendant Placentia saw this as an opportunity to profit off of Mr. Perry. He wrote in a text message in September 2023, quote, I wonder how much this moron will pay.
U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada says the defendants sold about 20 vials to Perry for more than $50,000, and after his death last October, tried to cover it up. DEA Administrator Ann Milgram.
Matthew Perry's journey began with unscrupulous doctors who abused their position of trust because they saw him as a payday. And it ended with street dealers who sold him ketamine in unmarked vials.
She says people who should have guided Perry to help exploited him instead. Milgram says Perry became addicted to ketamine after seeking treatment for depression and anxiety. The multiple charges announced today include drug and conspiracy counts and falsifying documents. Two of the defendants, including Perry's assistant, have already pleaded guilty. A third agrees to plead guilty. President Biden making his first joint appearance with Vice President Kamala Harris since she became the Democratic nominee after he dropped out. Before heading to the event in Maryland, answering this question from Fox's Peter Ducey.
How much does it bother you that Vice President Harris might soon, for political reasons, start to distance herself from your economic
She's not going to. She's not going to, he said. The president also insisting again that Bidenomics is working. Harris is expected to emphasize in a solo campaign event tomorrow, though, that she knows prices remain too high. Former President Trump holds his latest news conference later today. Earlier, his running mate, J.D. Vance, accepting 2 debates with Democratic VP nominee Tim Walz after Walz agreed to one. America is listening to Fox News.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
92 should do it for the high. It's hot and it's humid with a cool front pressing in. So we'll be watching for developing thunderstorms. Best window of opportunity for some strong to severe weather will be 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Friday, the front still hanging around. Some scattered thunderstorms, partly sunny, 90. But the weekend looks great with dropping humidity and temperatures in the 80s. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all of that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Outdoor Living Redefined, brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design, your trusted partner in crafting stunning decks, inviting screened rooms, and elegant porch overhangs. Imagine enjoying a crisp morning coffee on your beautifully designed deck, or hosting gatherings in a spacious screened room. Lakeside turns your vision into reality. Our skilled craftsmen use top-notch materials to create spaces that stand up to the elements and stand out in style. Elevate your lifestyle with Lakeside's outdoor living expertise. Visit our showroom or call Lakeside Renovation and Design today.
Home values are sky high, and you have a ton of equity. Your financial advisor thinks the market is peaked. So if you're thinking about selling, it's time. Except for 2 things. High interest rates will burn you on a new home loan, and you're not ready to move.
Savvy financial advisors suggest Truehold's new Sell and Stay program. It's ingenious because they buy your home now while its value is high, but you can stay in your home as long as you want with an easy, affordable lease. Smart, right? Truehold will make you a solid cash offer, not a lowball offer like the others. It's based on your home's current value. The cash is yours to travel, pay off bills, or secure your retirement. And again, you can stay in your home with a comfortable lease. Truehold covers property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. See how much Truehold will pay for your home today. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out your home's value without moving. That's Truehold.com.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at LanceDruryLaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
97.1 FM Talk. You're here. Not because of a label, but because conservative ideas actually work. St. Louis is home for conservative talk. This is 97.1 FM Talk.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
I'm resisting the temptation to go live to Joe Biden speaking at a Kamala Harris rally. It's a very, very strange world we live in. I think we'll get to that in this hour, but how could we delay our favorite guest? It's Tyrus.
You're becoming like my most stable relationship.
Enough said. Did you hear that, Tyrus? You're our favorite guest.
Yeah, I heard that.
Good. I just want you to know
I
that.
want that in my intro from now on.
Yes, I want to be in your intro on the Annie Fry Show. That would be great. Tyrus, I got to ask you, and this wasn't even part of the plan here, but I was thinking back to when you were here in St. Louis was that your first stand-up show when you were here in Edwardsville?
First, like me stand-up shows, yeah.
First solo stand-up show, right? Yeah?
Yeah, just me. Yeah, I had snuck into some improv under assumed names, joking around, but that was like my first show that I put together. Yeah.
You really you did pseudonyms to get into the clubs a couple times?
Yeah, I would always go by Richard King.
People be like, "Oh man, I love Richard King. I want to go
yeah,
see that guy."
Did. So I thought, but it was just like one of those fun things because I was always told, being a big guy, you're too intimidating to do comedy, and I always thought that was weird. But funny's funny. It doesn't matter what it comes out of, as long as it's funny.
So my question for you was, based on the way that you felt that night. I don't know if you remember how you were feeling going into the night, but is it more nervous to go do an event like that where you're live on stage, or is it harder to do TV?
That's a great question. You don't get the same fear in front of the camera. Like live events, wrestling, stand-up, playing football, there's the butterflies because it's on you. You can't lean on anybody else. If something goes wrong in front of you, it's on you. So there's definitely more of a hypeness to it. I don't want to call it fear. It's like I always had a rule: if you don't have butterflies when you're getting ready to step out on stage or wherever you're going, then you probably shouldn't do it because it means you're invested, you're excited, and you're ready to go. So TV, at first, once you get used to the camera, it doesn't exist anymore. You just kind of it's a conversation. I mean, I've been picking on Greg for almost 10 years now, so it's pretty easy. I don't want to say easy because you got to be prepared, and you're one bad joke away from not being on TV anymore. So there's the level of preparedness is a little more tight because you only speak. I think I speak on average a minute each segment, so you really only hear from me a little bit. So it's a little bit be concise and have more time to think while other people are talking. especially when people take your ideas. You get 4 people with the same article. A lot of times they're going to have the same thing. So I always try to find things that no one else is talking about or looking at from different perspectives. So there's ups and downs to both sides, but preparation is the same.
Yeah, you're really good at that, finding the angle. I think that's one of the reasons that we've always enjoyed having you on, because we'll bring up a political topic with you. We don't exactly know where you're going to go with it. And as far as jokes go, being on Gutfeld and everywhere else, I would think, now this is just based on my perception of when I watch you on TV, that you're trying to live in that spot where, yeah, you're one bad joke away from not being on TV anymore, but you got to get real close to it, right?
Yeah, I'm a habitual line stepper,
yeah.
as Greg would tell me. Like, I push the envelope, but it's in a way that to more make you think. I'm not trying to say something to make everyone go, oh, because I also understand after you watch me, you're trying to go to sleep. So I want you to be in a good mood when you go to sleep. I don't want you to be like, I got to watch 6 more hours of TV because I can't believe all the stuff I'm hearing on Gutfeld. So our role, I think, or at least my role, is to make you think and then send you to your room happy. That's the plan. So you always want to, but the best way to do that is being prepared. And the same thing is I don't have to rehearse. I don't have any writers. No one writes jokes for me. So everything I'm kind of out there on TV is I'm just reacting to the room. So I have all the information in my head, and then I look at everyone else's answers, and I usually don't know what I'm going to say until he goes, "Hey, Tyrus," and then I'll just kind of go from there. Greg never has a clue what I'm going to say. I don't meet with him. I don't share thoughts, any of that stuff. I'm like, "I'll see you out there, kid." Like we say in wrestling, we'll call it out there, and it's a good way because it keeps me on my toes. It's almost like a competition in a good, healthy way because everyone's trying to bring something to the table that nobody else is. And I think that's probably why we're so successful, is that we don't share stuff because you can't have an easy night off because we're all trying to win the night, in terms of doing the best job that you can do. And it's a healthy, positive competition.
Yeah, it always stays fresh. We do the same thing here on much more.
Doesn't get stale, yeah.
Yeah.
If everyone was given a script, I don't think it would last very long.
Right. And my role is typically exactly what you described, of just coming in and reacting. But it's weird because
you're the adult in the room.
No, I'm the exact opposite, according to Annie. But you're right. I'm going to go with you here.
Yeah, you're the adult.
I'm the adult in the room, and I got to bring it back down because Annie gets off trail a lot,
Oh, she gets wild. I mean, she's
all
trying to talk about baseball, and we're trying to talk about politics.
I know. Man. We're trying to talk about important stuff, and then she's like, "Hey, what about the Cardinals?" And it's like, gosh.
Or the Blues, or making fun of my baseball team. She's kind of a bully. She's not listening to this, right? We're good.
No, and she will not. This will be struck from the podcast as well.
Just you and me. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, actually, we're just going to go off the air completely and just have a private conversation about Annie, if that's cool. But yeah, today I had to be all prepared. It's like so boring because I got to prepare so much. But it's weird because you do have to, you almost have to over-prepare for the role that you're in because you have to be ready for anything. You don't drive the ship, so you got to be ready to roll with whatever.
Yeah, because it's not the Tyrus show. So whenever he throws something out there, it's my job to either bring it back down to earth or say something that makes him lose his mind. And I kind of juggle between that. Because they never know how I'm on the subject either. Like, I think I'm going to be funny about it. And then there's times when I'll have a joke in my head that will pop up, but then as I'm listening to the content, I'm like, you know what? I think we need some levity here. So let's put the joke in the bag and let's have some levity, especially with a lot of the talk about stolen valor stuff and what we're seeing with saying one thing but doing another. And I think sometimes there needs to be a point where you're like, this we don't need to be funny about. This we need to be, give us our best. You give your best educated opinion to it, and you just kind of let the chips fall. And I think I've done a pretty good job of balancing that. You also need to understand there's a reason why Brett Baer is where he is. They don't need me to be Brett Baer. They need me to be Tyrus. So I'll just talk to, like, if we were sitting having lunch or having a beer somewhere, that's how I do my show.
Hey, I'd be fine, though, if you wanted to moderate the next debate, regardless.
Oh, I'd be all about that. Oh, yeah, because I would ask some fun questions.
Heck yeah. Tyrus, I got to ask you, a couple of just current event questions because I'm watching Joe Biden up giving really his first speech in a month. Kamala Harris is with him. It's the first time they've been together. We were just talking off air. Do you think this is a good strategy, them kind of getting back together?
I think their entire strategy is they're hoping that Trump does enough to get people to not vote for him. So whether they are together, they also have really, really just banked on the basement campaign, because I think that blueprint in their minds worked. The difference is there's no pandemic anymore. People have more information than they ever did. And the American people are feeling the pinch and I think they try to distance themselves. It's not working. So maybe if they make appearances together, I just don't understand why she wouldn't want to get out and answer questions with reporters unless she is who we thought she was. And this was the same, which is funny because Biden's team was the ones who were trying to think about getting her out of the VP spot. That they were going to offer her a position. I hope she ran for senator, or I even heard stuff about Supreme Court pick possibly. They were trying to bribe her out. They didn't think they could win with her. And luckily for Kamala and her team, he had the debate with Trump, where Trump ended a 50-year career in one evening.
Yeah, it was remarkable to watch, because I know people who skipped that debate because they said, "No, I know who I'm voting for." I said, "No, you just missed watching a historic moment." I mean, that's a moment in American history now.
Where that administration was exposed to lying to the American people and covering up, which I don't understand how people making decisions who are not elected in that position, how that's not some form of law being broken. It's just crazy to me.
Does that matter to you, and does it matter to voters, that Kamala Harris was clearly, she knew how bad he had gotten, and she was part of the cover-up too, but now she's the candidate? Is that something you dwell on now?
You know what? I think we're giving her too much credit. I think she was just told what to do, what to say, where to be. She's always unprepared, unorganized. So I don't think she was a part of the loop at all. I don't think she was the last person in the room. I think she was the first one asked to leave.
Tyrus, I know you guys have talked about this subject quite a bit. I said yesterday on this show that, the Kamala laugh thing is a big subject. To me, I don't even care. It's not that like her laugh bothers me. It's that she uses it because she doesn't really know what she's saying, and she's using it.
She
as
has a nervous laugh. It's like a tick. It's a nervous laugh.
And so that does bother
someone's
me.
lying to you and they start laughing. It's a tick. Their conscience is telling on them. But again, I think those are no-win arguments for Republicans. Whether the black or not black thing, waste of time, stupid. Her laugh, stupid. All we should be talking about, and it's economy, stupid. That's it. Economy, the border. That's all we should be talking about on the Republican side. Policy. Here's our plan. Here's what we're going to do. I mean, even at this point, mentioning her name, I think would be a better campaign strategy. Be like, listen, I'm not mentioning her until she speaks. Do an interview. Then this is a campaign. Right now, it's the same thing. So, but again, I'm not on the campaign strategy team. But I think stick to policy. You got a shot. But again, you just don't know in this country right now. We have a cultural war going on, a rejection of the culture that is America, and one side's fighting like hell to hold on to it, and the other side wants basically a socialist country. So it's a lot of strange going on right now.
Do you feel it, Tyrus? I mean, you're in the same world as we are, much higher level, of course. That you're involved in talking about politics. You're talking about like the power structure of the country. And, there's a real concern right now over the future of America. Are people bringing that to you when you talk to them personally? Are they nervous?
So I guess technically I'm a celebrity when I'm on TV, but when I'm not, I'm just a regular guy. I'm a dad who's sitting at horseback riding practice or baseball practice or whatever's going on, talking to other dads and moms about the same things. Now, people come to me and ask me for answers, and I'm very like, listen, I don't have them. I said, I have a little more information than you because I'm closer to it, but here's what I think. Here's what I feel. And the conversations always comes back to money. It always comes back to money. The inflation, how bad it's hurting everybody. Education, how the school systems are failing. Children, you got your kid coming home with straight A's in the 8th grade, but has a 3rd grade reading level. There's a problem with that. More emphasis is made on keeping secrets from parents than working with parents. There's a problem with that. So that's what I hear about mostly. And then, of course, a lot of because my daughters are athletes. And there's a lot of talk about the concerns about this continuing thing where mediocre male athletes all of a sudden transition and are taking women's spots and opportunities and medals away. And I hear that, that's on the minds of a lot of parents. And I don't know how much of that translates to voting, but because I don't know, it's just kind of one of those things where those are just concerns right now. We've had a complete breakdown of what is of morality in this country. We've had a breakdown of the family unit in this country. And it's a lot. It's very unnerving for a lot of families right now.
Yeah. And as a conservative, there are a lot of issues that I think people, just like you, people a little surprised when you come at certain angles from certain directions. They're always a little surprised when I come at that topic and say I'm all for men in women's sports because I've always wanted to win at boxing, and I think I still have a shot.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, because we make people made a lot of jokes, and I was part of that where I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm all for it as long as I can bet on it. But then you see a high school track athlete who's worked her butt off, got the grades, and then she loses her scholarship to a man who's just grew his hair out a little bit and said he's a woman. That I have a problem with that. And I think we need to start looking at setting up a charity fund or a scholarship fund for when this happens to especially young women athletes, that they step in like, here, we're going to make sure you still get your opportunity to go to college and compete. I think, we need to simplify it down. You don't want to make it about gender. It's easy. XY division, X division. That's it. You got XY, that's your division. You can wear whatever the hell you want and do your hair however you want, but you got XY, this is where you play.
See, Tyrus, this is why you're so much better at this than I am, because I made a joke and you were like, no, this is the time for levity. We're going to talk about this issue for real.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where until you are affected by it and see it, when you see an 18-year-old crying because she no longer has her scholarship because she was beaten by a boy that she never had a shot at beating, they're breaking records while they're doing this. So when you see that and you think, man, how would that have been for me if we started letting, what if we started letting 30-year-old men go back and play high school football?
Yeah.
25 to 30, you want to go, you never played professional ball. You know what? You can come back and you can play high school ball. And then you've got 25 and 35-year-old men beating the hell out of 16 and 17, 18-year-old young boys and taking all their scholarships. How do you think that would go over?
Yeah, and you know what? I just have started. Like, you're right. When it becomes real, you go, oh, this is like not as big of a joke. It used to be a joke, and now it's local. Like, we're having these issues right here in St. Louis. We've got this fitness center. We've been talking about a guy going to the women's locker rooms. And now I've got a 10-year-old daughter, and I'm for the first time going, oh, wait a minute. Do I have to start thinking about that? Because it had always been kind of out there, but now it's here.
Yeah, but now it's in our communities. It's becoming, it's really with the advertisement that you get from it in the argument, it also pushes a lot of people who see like, wow, I could take advantage of this too. And we're seeing that where these failed male athletes or average or mediocre are suddenly becoming phenoms and they're getting encouraged to do it. In some cases, getting sponsorships. It's really, really in terms of when we look at women's rights and equality, it's disgusting. And, you can say you're a woman or whatever the hell you want to be. That's fine. It's America. But when your stuff interferes with other people's opportunities and it's unfair, and there's nothing genetically that they can do about it other than, women start taking testosterone and ruining their lives, it becomes a thing and something that is really fixable. And there's a reason why this wasn't allowed before, because we had morals and respect as a community, and those things are fading away. Now it's, if a man is a provider and he's toxic, if a man opens a door for you, he's a monster. And this is all coming from these small groups who magnify themselves on social media and present themselves as big numbers. And for whatever reason, businesses were bending the knee to them. But we saw the results. Americans aren't going to stand out. Hardworking Americans don't have time to stand outside your door and protest and flip cars and stuff. We just don't buy your product anymore. And Bud Light found out, and they're still not where. I don't think they'll ever get back to where they were. Yeah. And that's what needs to happen. The consumer needs to say, you know what, I'm not good with this. I'm good.
Yeah, it's a real lesson. I mean, that Bud Light thing, that really was a surprise to everybody. How long it's lasted, too. I mean, it's a year later. We're still talking about it. Tyrus, I always appreciate that you're here, that you're talking to us, but that you're also out there. You're on Outkick. You've got stand-up specials. You're everywhere. So I just appreciate all the stuff you're doing.
Oh, yeah, you guys gave me one of my first opportunities, so you can't get rid of me.
Yeah, well, we won't. I'm glad that you're here, and you'll be here as long as we're here, so thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Tyrus, take care. This is the Annie Fry Show. Of course, Ryan Wiggins and Brad Range filling in for Annie today. Always appreciate getting to talk to Tyrus. One more time, our YouTube live chat poll today. Will there be any more large surprises before Election Day? Yes or no? And then, if you want to vote in that and also leave a comment and let us know if you think there are going to be big surprises, what you think those might be. Because, man, it really could be anything. I'd like to know what you think about this topic. It's the Annie Fry YouTube live chat poll today. I almost said 126. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning, but I'm not going to do that because I'm hosting today. We'll be right back on the Annie Fry Show.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter @AnnieFryShow.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
This station is now conducting a test of the emergency alert system. This is only a test.
I was having a lot of sinus infections. My sinuses were clogged, pressure, headaches.
Linda suffered for years with chronic sinus infections.
You don't feel like doing anything. When you feel like your head is completely clogged, all you want to do is just lay down and sleep. And the pressure, it's just not fun, always walking around with a headache.
Now, her issues are gone. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of St. Louis Sinus Centers called balloon sinuplasty.
I really did not know what it was like to feel like you're really breathing and not being so clogged up. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I would definitely recommend it for someone else.
Do you suffer with chronic sinus infections, facial pain, pressure, congestion? Find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Set an appointment today with St. Louis Sinus Centers. Call 314-332-2885. 314-332-2885. That's 314-332-2885.
You've listened to 97.1 FM Talk. You've heard of Doug Voss of Voss Financial and Safe Money Radio, as he has been a staple as the financial expert on the station for many years. You can hear him on Safe Money Radio several times a weekend right here on 97.1 FM Talk. And you can talk to Doug Voss directly. Here's his number. Call Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That is 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through D.H. Hill Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. 9 out of 10 homes are under-insulated. Is yours? Did you know that there's an R value associated with insulation? To find out your R value or for free insulation estimate, visit aircomfortservice.com.
The Mark Reardon Show.
Chris Clemens, former Yuma Sector Border Patrol chief.
A tiger cannot change its stripes because it's convenient for a campaign. There are still anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 illegal entries a day. Over half of them are being released into the communities.
Weekdays from 3 to 6. You're listening to the Annie Fry Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk. Follow Annie on Twitter @AnnieFryShow.
Kamala Harris and Joe Biden appeared together for the first time just now. We were talking about a little bit with Tyrus at the beginning there. I think what we want to do here, and this just ended, so we're almost, not quite live, just a little behind. I think we're going to play Kamala's remarks. Now, I don't know how long we'll stay with this, but from what I got to hear, right before Tyrus' call, we were kind of listening to this, and it sounded like she's got a script. And she's playing the hits, like Brad just said. But she sounded like she was a little more loosey-goose about staying on script. So I'm a little interested to hear how this plays out. And if it's just the same thing, we'll cut away. But let's go to it and see what Kamala had to say.
Thank Judy for sharing her story. I think we all know it takes a very special person who has dedicated over 40 years of their life to do the work that Judy has done as a nurse. That work being what? To care about other people in a way that is about lifting them up and caring about their well-being. So, Judy, we thank you so very much for being here today. I want to recognize the incredible Governor Wes Moore. Who's here with Don and his son. And Wes, I'm so thankful to you for all that you do in service to our nation in so many different ways, and your friendship, but in particular, to share such a personal story as you have. And I know it takes a lot out of you to share that story, but to do it in a way that is about lifting up other people and helping, hopefully, others who are not in this room understanding how real people are impacted every day about this issue and by this issue. Thank you. I want to recognize the people of our administration, including Secretary Becerra, who is here, the bold administrator, Brooks LaSure, who is here, my dear friend and former colleague, Senator Ben Cardin, Representative Barragan, the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus.
Man, it's a bunch of insiders if they're cheering when you go, my administrative assistant is here. Wow.
And I want to recognize your next United States Senator, Angela also Brooks. And I've worked with her over the years. I'm telling you, Marilyn, you're going to do a great thing when you send her to the United States Senate. And of course, I could speak all afternoon about the person that I am standing on this stage with.
Man, they love him. Wonder why he dropped out.
That's a good question. I'm picturing all kinds of other people, like it's not Joe Biden that's standing next to her.
He's like down the line a
it's
little bit.
It's Gary Coleman.
Our extraordinary President Joe Biden. And he's going to speak in a minute, but there's a lot of love in this room for our president. And I think it's for many, many reasons, including few leaders in our nation have done more on so many issues, including to expand access to affordable health care than Joe Biden. And today we take the next step, thank you, Joe, forward in our fight.
Joe's the best, isn't he? He's doing a great job.
What a guy. Like, those thank yous are because he got out of the race, right?
Yeah, I think so.
We believe deeply, Every senior in our nation should be able to live with security, stability, and dignity. And so in the United States of America, no senior should have to choose between either filling their prescription or paying their rent. That's the subject of today. Because we know for far too long, far too many of our seniors have struggled to afford their medication. And as a result, seniors have been forced to spend their time trying to figure out how they are going to be able to fill a prescription like insulin based on the doctor's prescription, which is about saving their life, or whether they'd have to ration their pills to be able to make it stretch through a month. And why, we all know, but let's ask, why are prescription drugs so expensive? I will tell you. Well, one big reason is for years, Big Pharma has often inflated the price of life-saving medications.
Now, hang on a second now. When the Democrats start talking about how they're taking on Big Pharma, I'm not sure that I can just allow that to go unchecked.
Are we going to fact check her?
I think we might. Here is, man, I didn't even know we were going to do this. Here's Donald Trump in 2020.
Today, I'm proud to announce that we have reached a breakthrough agreement to dramatically slash the out-of-pocket cost of insulin. You know what's happened to insulin over the years, right? Through the roof. Insulin. So many people, so necessary. For hundreds and thousands of seniors enrolled in Medicare, that's a big deal. Participating plans will cap cost at just $35 a month per type of insulin, and some plans may offer it free. So for everybody that was getting ripped off and paying tremendous prices, senior citizens, and Seema, I want to thank you because you brought this to my attention a long time ago, and you worked very hard on this day, and the press won't even cover it.
It sounds like Trump taking on Big Pharma. I don't know. Did Kamala, is she just adopting his policies? I don't know. We'll continue to listen.
Many times what it would cost to make just to increase their profits. And millions of Americans have suffered as a result. My entire career, I have worked to hold bad actors accountable and lower the cost of prescription drugs. As Attorney General of California, I took on pharmaceutical companies for deceptive marketing and illegally inflating the cost of drugs, and we won.
And I'm proud to say we forced you to take their products.
As a United States Senator, I fought to pass laws that would make health care more affordable and accessible for all Americans. And as Vice President, together with Joe Biden, our president, we finally addressed the long-standing issue that for years was one of the biggest challenges on this subject, which was that Medicare was prohibited by law from negotiating lower drug prices. And those costs then got passed on to our seniors, but not anymore. 2 years ago, we gave Medicare the power to negotiate lower prescription drug prices for the first time in history. And here is why that matters. It is nearly impossible for a patient to negotiate lower prices by themselves. Just think about that. Somebody who needs the medication, who may be suffering from a serious illness, that they would by themselves be able to negotiate against a big drug company to lower that prices is virtually impossible. It's one person against a huge corporation. But Medicare represents more than 65 million people. And so Medicare has collective bargaining power. And now Medicare can use that power to go toe-to-toe with Big Pharma and negotiate lower drug prices.
It seemed like 1 point over the span of about a minute and a half. All right, we'll get another minute. Peace be with you. Also with you. Thank you, Joe. Hey, hang on. Trump had something to say about this yesterday.
Kamala and Joe tried to take credit for $35 insulin. You know that. You know who did that? I did that. I did the insulin.
I did the insulin. Here's another clip.
Kamala Harris won't end the economic crisis. She will only make it worse. And why hasn't she done it? She talks about it. She's doing a plan. You know, she's going to announce it this week, maybe. She's waiting for me to announce it so she can copy it.
I love all the problems that Kamala's going to solve in her next term. You're currently in power.
Yeah, on day one. Day one was January of 2020.
4 years ago. Why did you do this already? Like, you're just taking these things on. We have a bold initiative that we forgot about up until this moment.
Until it meant that we were going to get reelected.
It's incredible. I think we're just going to leave that where it is. I would love to hear her. There was a point in there, but I don't want to listen to the next 5 minutes to get to this one point where she kind of talked she did the Kamala thing where she talked in circles. I mean, she just did it with Medicare,
Yeah.
But it was a much bigger circle. She did one where she did a little circle logic back on itself. That I don't want to listen to 5 more minutes to get to it, but we'll see if we can find it. This is the Annie Fry Show. We're going to break here and come right back and probably analyze this a little bit more. But, man, we got a lot of sound from Trump yesterday, and it was pretty good. He's focused on the economy. I'm not really sure he should do anything else. If you just do that, dude, you're probably going to win. This is the Annie Fry Show. Ryan Wiggins filling in for Annie Fry.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Fry Show.
More good news for Frederick Roofing, voted best roofing company by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
For a hole in your roof or a whole new roof, Frederick Roofing.
314-645-2000.
Del Walmsley and the Wealth Cycle.
This is the wealth cycle that I've taught for 30 years. Buy one house, 10 houses, an apartment, 2 apartments, 8, 20, 500 units, 1,000 units, 2,000, 5,000 units. And as you keep putting the money and the profits back in, you become one of those rich people. And much quicker than you'd even believe.
Learn Dell's Wealth Cycle at GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Use promo code 2024. Save 60%. Code 2024. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com.
If you have a problem with the IRS, believe me, it's not going away on its own. The IRS never gives up. They have endless resources, so they control the game. Well, your tax problems can end. I'm attorney Lance Drury with the Drury Law Firm, a local tax resolution firm with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. I've handled thousands of IRS cases over the last 15 years. So when you hire me, you won't be speaking long distance or sending money to some TV pitchman that's riddled with consumer complaints. Your first visit is completely free and confidential, and I'll tell you on the spot exactly how much it will cost. So call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120. That's 314-260-6120. Or go to Lance, DRURYlaw.com. If you have IRS issues, you need a local attorney. You need me, Lance Drury.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Today's YouTube live chat poll: Will there be any more large surprises before Election Day? The October surprise? Will there be a September surprise? Will there be any more? We've already had a whole bunch of surprises as it is, but this election cycle has been crazy. We want to know your answer. A simple yes or no. Jump on Annie's YouTube page, vote in the poll, and then let us know what you think. You can do that one of two ways. You can leave a message in the chat, or you can use the Odyssey app. If you're listening on the Odyssey app, you can press that little microphone button and leave us a voice message, and we might play your audio on the air. The time is 1:44. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
It's what's happening.
The USS Georgia capable of carrying 150 Tomahawk missiles.
Keeping you informed.
Kamala is grossly incompetent.
And up to date.
We say, bring it on.
97.1 FM Talk.
What do you mean?
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter @Annie Fry Show.
By contrast, I'm announcing today that under my leadership, the United States will commit to the ambitious goal of slashing energy and electricity prices by half, at least half. We intend to slash prices by half within 12 months, at a maximum 18 months. And if it doesn't work out, you'll say, oh, well, I voted for him. I still got him down a lot. But we're looking to do it. We're looking to cut them in half, and we think we'll be able to do better. And every single thing that I promised, I produced. Every single thing. You will never have had energy so low as you will under a certain gentleman known as Donald J. Trump. Have you heard of him? So we think your energy bills will be down by 50 to 70%. How good would that be for a thing called inflation? How good would that be?
Yeah, he talked about the economy yesterday quite a bit. I consumed that speech through clips, much in the same way that most of America does. I didn't watch it live. We try to watch those things live as much as we can. I just have a life that I'm also trying to live, so I had to consume it through clips. My electric bill, I talked about this about an hour ago in what usually would be Wiggins America. Annie is out today. I'm filling in. $422. I don't think I ever said that in that segment. $422 for one electric bill. And we're pretty, I don't want to say we're like green energy, but we have a pretty efficient house. So we don't have real old windows or anything. Our house stays at the temperature it's supposed to be pretty well, and we're still spending over $400 a month. Man, I don't know what this winter's going to look like, because running the AC is one thing. Heating your house is more expensive. He's hitting a message there that if it gets out, it's always a question, because he says a lot of things, and the things that you want to be the headline are usually not the headline. But if you could cut everybody's electricity prices by half, that's over $200 a month that would save me personally. That's a pretty big deal. And that's the thing about electricity and oil and the way that we create electricity. It's really not that hard to bring it down pretty quickly. So he's promising some things there that I'm not sure. And he even says, hey, if we get close, you'll give me credit, right? Because if we can get it to 50%, that'd be great. I'd love to get it to 70% down. But even if we didn't, you still will have voted for me and your prices will have come down at least. If it doesn't get to half, I'm not going to blame him. But it's not that hard to do this. Like Donald Trump, we sometimes think he's really, really great on the economy. He is. He knows money. He was talking to Elon Musk this week, listening to two guys who are very, very successful at business. I get a little bit jealous because I try to do, some real estate and my own business stuff on the side. And you start to learn the language. And I said this on Tuesday, that when you hear guys talking who know the language of money, it actually gives me some more confidence, because politicians typically, and because this isn't just Democrats, this is politicians, if you've lived your entire life and your entire career just doing politics, you've never really tried to run a business, you may have to run your own household finances, but if you get successful enough, your household finances are doing fine because you're making a lot of money. But those who know money, they know the language. It's just like if you talk to somebody who, and we've done this a lot recently with Tim Walz and the Stolen Valor stuff. When you talk to somebody who's not military about it, they might have an opinion. But when you talk to somebody who's former Marine, they're using the language to describe this stuff, and it goes a lot farther. When Donald Trump talks about the economy, it's so weird because you can tell that he knows money because he's done it, but he never really speaks on that kind of Elon Musk level that's a little bit harder to understand. Because some of the stuff he talks about, I don't even know what he's saying. But when Trump talks about it, I'm like, oh, okay, I know exactly what you're saying, because he makes it very, very accessible.
They say it's the most important subject. I think crime is right there. I think the border is right there, personally. We have a lot of important subjects because our country has become a third world nation. We literally are a third world nation. We're a banana republic in so many ways, and we're not going to let that happen because we're starting a free fall. But from today and from the day I take the oath of office, we will rapidly drive prices down and make America affordable again. We're going to make it affordable again.
That was the whole point of the speech yesterday, and it's so funny watching the headline. You almost can write the headline before the speech even happens. It'll say, Donald Trump does rambling, incoherent speech.
Yeah.
And you listen to the clips, and you're like, well, that didn't sound rambling.
Seems to make sense to
me.
me.
He jumps from subject to subject a lot because it's almost like stream of consciousness.
He definitely does a stream of consciousness thing, but his thoughts, and whenever he mentions something, it's a complete and coherent thought. He may jump from let's talk about energy to let's talk about the border, but whatever he says on energy, and then when he jumps to the border and then back to energy, each one of those are self-contained, coherent thought. He's not rambling. It's maybe a little disorganized, but that's not rambling.
Yeah, he was intending to speak about the economy, and so the headlines I saw or the criticism I saw was, well, he just went off on all kinds of other topics again. Yeah, he definitely does that. He absolutely does that. Here's one of those.
Everything Kamala Harris touches turns bad. It all turns bad. San Francisco was a great city. Now it's unlivable. California was a great state. Now it's unlivable. She breaks everything just like she broke the border, broke our economy. But soon we are going to fix every single problem Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have created, and we are going to save our country. We are going to save America. We're going to save America.
I don't really think that was incoherent in any way. You can criticize Trump for a lot of things, but he makes points. You understand what he's saying. You know, the guy was a media personality for a long, long time, so it's not as if he's not pretty practiced at doing this. Whether you trust him or not, that's entirely up to you, but I do, based on experience. I mean, he's not, I think it was Jim Carafano said this week. You can actually look at this guy and say, I actually know what you're going to do because I've seen you do it. That's pretty rare for a candidate who's not currently in office.
Right. Well, and it's interesting, too, because until Joe Biden dropped out of the race, you could look at both candidates and say, well, I know what you're going to do because I watched you do it, which was, like you said, it's rare. There was only one other time in U.S. history that we've had a president that ran for office, was kicked out of office, and then ran for office and regained office again. I wish I could remember who it was off the top of my head. It's like late 1800s, something like that. But the thing about it is the American people saw that and they said, no, we don't want the Joe Biden stuff. We saw what that was. Give us the Trump stuff. We saw what that was. We'll take that and you know, the whatever's beyond it. Now, the thing that Trump has to do is then show that, and Kamala Harris, by doing this rally with Joe Biden, shows that she's part of the Biden administration. So all you're going to get at best is Joe Biden policies with Kamala Harris at the helm. You're still going to get the same thing.
It's not going to be any different. In fact, and the headlines today from the Fox News chyrons that I saw are that she's going to try to reposition herself and unapologetically reposition herself on some of these far left issues. Well, that just means you didn't really believe in them to start with. You're just going to be a chameleon, which is a very common nickname for her, Kamala Chameleon. But when I see friendly media like the Sacramento Bee, not the Babylon Bee, this is the Sacramento Bee, been around for a long time. It's a very left-leaning newspaper, trying to spin the economic message and failing this badly at it, then I know, there's actually probably something Donald Trump does need to talk about. I'll read you from, it's called Reality Check. It's a series that the Sacramento Bee does where I guess they take a topic and they try to bring you the truth on it. I mean, they cut through the BS and they bring you the truth. This one's about Kamala Harris's record on the economy. It says Donald Trump and fellow Republicans repeat it over and over. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are the reason prices are so high. Yes, they do say that. I would agree with that. It says, quote, Kamala, who cast a tie-breaking Senate vote for trillions in spending that sent inflation sky high, owns the failures of the Harris-Biden economy, quote unquote. The Republican Party Rapid Response Team said that recently. Kamalanomics is Bidenomics, Trump's campaign team tweeted on Monday. Trump promised during the GOP convention last month that if he's elected, inflation will vanish completely. Here's where they make the turn, and they make their case for Kamala. Kamala doesn't have to do anything. Newspapers just do it. chances are no president, or for that matter, any U.S. policymaker can make that happen. So it's not just defending her record. It's just saying, yeah, nobody really can do anything about this, though. Nobody's to blame.
Yeah.
While the Biden administration policies arguably contributed to the worst inflation in 40 years, they admit the American and world economies are complex and driven by several diverse, often uncontrollable factors. While that is true, it is important to recognize that they are saying, yes, they did contribute to it. Economists have different views of the impact of the Biden administration's policies. And so then they find some friendly economists to give them some quotes about how, well, yes, they did spend a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, they did cause a lot of this, but it's not just them. If that's the best argument your best writers can come up with, you're failing.
Well, even if it wasn't just them, the plan is, like, the ideal thing to do is recognize that spending too much is a bad thing, and therefore don't keep doing it.
And I think maybe we as a nation have realized that. I'm not sure. You know what will determine if the nation has realized that is the election. There's a whole lot riding on this election that, man, I would love to get into. In fact, we probably will. I've got a whole bunch of material that we haven't gotten to today. Let's talk about what communists believe and maybe compare it to modern day Democrats. Does that sound like fun? Yeah, we'll do that next. This is the Annie Fry Show.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Instagram at the Annie Fry Show.
I'm embarrassed to say this. I've been using deodorant on my armpits for 30 years, and anytime I noticed odor anywhere else, I thought I needed another shower, I wasn't clean, or I felt like there was something wrong with me. And then my gynecologist told me about Lumi. It's a whole body deodorant for pits, feet, and privates that controls odor anywhere and everywhere on your body. Since Lumi, I never have to worry about body odor ever again, anywhere on my body. And that reassurance is worth every penny.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code SHOWER and get 15% off your first purchase with code SHOWER, like the Lumi Starter Pack, Acidified Body Wash, or new Lumi Plus Sweat Control. That's LUME deodorant.com, code SHOWER for 15% off your first purchase. With over 200,000 five-star reviews, I am so sure you're going to love it. Or return it for free with Lumi's 60-day money-back guarantee. That's LUME deodorant.com, code SHOWER to save 15% today.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
If you've been injured in a truck accident, you need the best. Onder Law. Let us make your case our cause. Truck accident? Call Onder Law for a free review at 314 or 618-9000000.
Not many window companies do egress windows. Those are the ones used in basements or floors with no emergency exit. GHRcontracting.com. We offer same-day install and financing 0% for 18 months. And there's no hassle with price negotiation. Get an upfront quote on the phone. GHRcontracting.com.
Are you tired of feeling sick and tired? I'm Dr. Nick Barnes of Health from Within Family Chiropractic. Our simple 5-step approach aligns your health naturally. We correct spinal abnormalities to maximize nerve supply, focus on pure and simple nutrition, exercise and oxygen, mindset, and minimizing toxins in your body. Transform your health today with Health from Within, conveniently located on Manchester in Rock Hill, or online at healthfromwithinstl.com.
It's the greatest pop rock of the 60s and 70s. The Happy Together Tour 2024 with the Turtles, Jay and the Americans, The Association, Badfinger, The Vogues, and the Cowsills. This Friday night, the Family Arena. Reserve seats on sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster.
Get ready for the all-new Athleta Presents Gold Over America Tour. Join Simone Biles and America's best gymnasts for a night of action-packed gymnastics. October 15th at the Family Arena. Fun for the whole family. You and your kids will love this high-energy spectacle. Music, lights, breathtaking flips, and Gold Squad dancers. Let's GOAT. October 15th at the Family Arena. Tickets on sale now at goldoveramericaTour.com.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio.
That's GetJim.com.
97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
For the president in Maryland, Lisa Brady, Fox News, led by Vice President Kamala Harris.
Thank you, Joe.
As they held an event together for the first time since Harris replaced President Biden as the Democratic nominee, focusing today on drug prices negotiated lower for seniors on Medicare.
Our reforms not only save lives, but here's the point people don't talk enough about. It saves the taxpayers billions of dollars.
The president also taking aim at his predecessor.
You may have heard about the MAGA Republican Project 2025 plan.
Those are conservative proposals former President Trump has criticized.
Let me tell you what our Project 2025 is. Beat the hell out of them. I mean it.
The former president holds a news conference next hour in New Jersey. Today, his running mate, J.D. Vance, accepting 2 debates with Democratic nominee Tim Walz, who had accepted 1. The Harris-Walz campaign says the debate over debates is over, accusing the Republicans of playing games. 5 people are now charged in the overdose death of actor Matthew Perry, including his assistant and 2 doctors.
Perry battled addiction for the majority of his adult life. At the time of his death last year, he was legally using ketamine, but he also turned to illegal dealers, including a woman who was known as the ketamine queen, who ultimately sold Perry ketamine that killed him.
Fox's Matt Finn in L.A. The DEA administrator says Perry was paying $2,000 for a vial of ketamine that would have cost a doctor $12. 2 defendants have already pleaded guilty. Federal prosecutors say another has agreed to. The charges include drug and conspiracy counts. 1 doctor is also charged with falsifying documents. America is listening to Fox News.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline nasal spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
92 should do it for the high. It's hot and it's humid with a cool front pressing in. So we'll be watching for developing thunderstorms. Best window of opportunity for some strong to severe weather will be 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Friday, the front's still hanging around. Some scattered thunderstorms, partly sunny, 90. But the weekend looks great with dropping humidity and temperatures in the 80s. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all of that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hello, this is Chad Clayman with Clayman Group, KLAMEN Group.com, where we buy houses direct and as-is condition with no middleman involved. I recently bought a house from somebody that was embarrassed to let me in the door. There was stuff all over the place and the entire house smelled like smoke. However, we were definitely able to see the potential. We gave them a great cash offer that they were very happy with. So So if you have a house that isn't in the best shape, maybe in disrepair, we're interested in making you an as-is cash offer. Please reach out today, KLAMENgroup.com.
Is your vehicle stopping like it should? Save with summer brake deals at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Get the tools and parts you need for your next brake job with Brake Best Select, Select Pro, and import direct brake pads and rotors now at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store.
Freedom of thought. Freedom of speech. It's defended here on your home for conservative talk and conservative values. 97.1 FM Talk.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
A little bit of the Manny Fry Show today as Annie is out. Ryan Wiggins filling in along with Brad Range. We are doing our best. Now, we've been getting some listener clips coming in. I got to tell you what this is. We may not play these right here because I do want to talk about commies. But we're going. We're gonna talk about. Yeah, thank you. We're gonna talk about this this listener thing. We have this new feature that if you want to drop a comment, we've been listening to them on the breaks, and it's really fun. So if you have, here's how it works. If you have the Odyssey app and you click on 97.1, so a lot of people are already doing this. If you listen on your phone at all, you're already there. On the right-hand side, as far as I understand it, on the right-hand side of where it says listen live, like where you click it to make the radio come on, there's a little microphone button there, and that's new. And if you click that microphone button, it'll just start recording you, and you can say whatever you want and then send it to us. Now, keep in mind, we are governed by laws of decency, so we can't play everything if you just want to go on a rant. We will probably hear it, but we can't play it. So if you want to...
We'll pass it around the office for everybody to hear.
Everybody will have a good time with it, don't get me wrong. But if you want to leave a message, that is a new way to do it, and we're monitoring those. We've got some coming in, and in the next segment, I'm just going to play a few of them because they're very fun. And you guys talking about the show, and you guys talking about issues and whatever. So we'll just play a couple of those. And if you want to drop one of those right now, go get the Odyssey app and record a message. If it's I would say keep it under a minute.
Yeah.
It would be the best, but I don't think there's any time limit.
The cool thing about that Odyssey app is it doesn't matter where you are in the country. So like if you're a trucker, and I know we get truckers that listen a lot, and you're just driving through and you like the show, man, download that app and you can take us all across the country and listen digitally.
Now, as far as I understand, that's true, although I think in deep blue areas, like if you go in San Francisco, they've got us blocked. If you go in Chicago, Cook County, we're going to be blocked. I don't think there's actually any truth to that, but I could see that happening. You know why? Because commies don't love letting you have a message that it differs from the state message, which is a great segue, isn't it, Brad?
Oh, yeah.
I did a great job just now. Transitioning into what we're going to talk about in this segment, I've written down a bunch of just random things that, as I understand it, is what commies believe. Now, what I want you to do is, regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, but especially if you're on the left and you listen to us, get on if you're on the app, that's a great start. You can leave comments there. But if you're on the YouTube page or any of our streaming, you can leave comments too. And what I want to know is, A, do you think this is actually communist doctrine? Or like hidden, because it may not be something they publicly say,
right,
but it's something that they have historically done, communist. And do you think this is something that Democrats do? And again, doesn't really matter what side of the aisle that you're on. I would love to hear from you and say disagree or agree. These are open conversations. That's why I like having this new little microphone thing if you want to leave a voice message. But we've always got the live stream. So I'm going to go through a couple of these, and you can tell me, nah, that's not actually a communist thing, but that is a Democrat thing. Or that is a Democrat thing, but it's not a communist thing. Or it's both, or whatever. They take money forcibly and re-spend it on their priorities. That's number one. Now, that seems like basic communist stuff, right? It's
Well, yeah.
economic. That is pretty much the definition of communism, right?
Yeah. From those according to their ability to those according to their need, I think is the Marxist line.
See, that's why you're here.
I've only got one of those. I don't know. But yeah, this definitely sounds communist, but it also could be Democrat too, because taxes are a thing.
Now, obviously, I'm coming from a conservative angle, so I'm talking about this, and I don't like these things. So maybe where I say take money forcibly and re-spend it on their priorities, maybe you disagree with that part. And you say, no, it's not our priorities, it's the people's priorities or something like that. You know, I could see.
Well, that's something that communists say too.
But that's what communists say. So I can't really imagine this would be non-communist. My question is it Democrat policy? And again, let us know. We'll try to monitor this. I'm doing this live, so I'll do what I can. That's number one. Number two is forcing you to comply. Now, that's pretty broad.
Very broad.
But I think you know where I'm coming from on this. In 2021, Democrats seized power. Mm-hmm. Well put, Ryan. And they began enacting laws without actually going through Congress that forced the public to do what they wanted. Now, in a constitutional republic, that is illegal. You can't do that. And the Supreme Court actually came in and did their job, and they checked them on
hey,
that.
you can't do that.
Yeah. But they were trying to.
Like through government bureaucracy, right?
That would be one way.
Like if you had like an occupational hazard safety association or something like that, you would say, okay, we're going to use this organization to enforce this fiat.
Yeah. So it's these aren't democratically enacted laws.
Right.
They are forced laws. And that's very different. So that's where I say they force you to comply, is because all laws are forcing you to comply. I mean, that's in a sense what a law is. But it's the way that it's enacted that would be considered authoritarian or communist. And maybe you don't equate those two things. I do. Mm-hmm. That's the way that they play out. That communists will make laws that benefit the people in power, and they force you to comply with them. And in America, that's not supposed to be possible. So would you say that that is a communist doctrine, Brad?
For sure.
What about a Democrat doctrine?
Well, yeah, we lived it. I mean, I lived in Illinois. I lived in the United States. I remember when the Biden administration was going to use the OSHA to force and mandate vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
And the Supreme Court told them no.
Number 3, they do not allow speech that disagrees with them. Insofar as they can stop it, they will stop it. That is a communist staple. Am I wrong?
Oh, for sure. Well, the Democrats just are after misinformation, right?
It's a good question.
It's just misinformation.
That's why we're asking you to weigh in.
But the question becomes then, what is misinformation and who gets to determine what it is?
Yes, it is. I mean, these are great questions.
Mm-hmm.
So if they do not allow speech that disagrees with them, I think we can come up with several examples. And it's so funny to me that for whatever reason, like some of the really leftist Twitter handles like Randy Weingartner and some of these people like in charge of the education systems of America say, well, Republicans are trying to ban books. So like Republicans are the ones
banning books. The books, to be clear, the books aren't being banned. We're telling you this is not age appropriate for fourth graders.
That's really, really important.
If you as a parent believe that, no, these books are age appropriate, what you can do is go out and purchase said books because they're not banned.
Yes.
But what all these quote unquote book bans are is the government saying, we don't think it's our right or our responsibility or appropriate for us to show this material to your children. So we're going to keep that out of our libraries and stuff like that. So your child can't even accidentally come across it.
Yeah. We've all agreed until now, I think we still maybe agree on this one, that Hustler magazine is not age appropriate for kids.
Right.
It may not be appropriate for anybody.
Right.
But I digress. Hustler magazine is not allowed in schools for children. That is wrong. We agree that should not be shown to children. Yet, things that do depict very, very sexual acts have been pushed through because of like gender ideology and sexual ideology. You can't touch that. People are like, oh, no. But if that's their ideology, we have to push it. Well, it's got really graphic stuff in some of these books. So Republicans have said, conservatives in general, and some people who are just moms and dads who really have no political affiliation.
Mostly moms and dads.
Are saying that's not age appropriate, which means that the people saying Republicans are banning books are lying. That would be misinformation. So they are against misinformation when it disagrees with the official stance of the party. And back to my little point on my bulletin here, they do not allow speech that disagrees. We've seen plenty of that. Am I wrong?
I have seen a lot of that. We've actually had the Twitter files showed how the Biden administration was communicating on back channels with big tech companies to get them to take down certain things that they didn't want displayed. They called it misinformation. They said it's for the public good. We got to take this down. But that's also not allowed. The government is not allowed to do an end around and censor speech by telling big tech that they have to censor speech on their behalf.
The next one, I agree. The next one on the list, number 4, they go after communists / maybe Democrats, go after political opponents and destroy them by whatever means. Not like it's a clean fight or even it's a dirty fight, but we're going to just destroy you. That you will not be able to run for office.
We will teach you a lesson for challenging us.
Yeah, you cannot oppose us. We are in power. Do not oppose us. That is definitely a communist manifesto. Like you see that in any country that's ever become communist.
Well, Stalin went after like Trotsky and all those other people, and like in his essence, basically he murdered them. He killed them, had them killed. But like I think about it, you see it within the party, within like-minded people. And I remember when Eric Adams was the mayor of New York City, and he's like, hey, we can't keep taking all these migrants. We need to work on something. And then it wasn't too long after that, he got raided. His office got raided.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to do this big investigation. He softened his speech on that. And have you heard anything more about that raid?
No.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
It's not just historic either. This is happening in real time as we speak in Venezuela. This is a country that 20 years ago had a pretty good economy and then was taken over by socialists / communists. And they ran the economy into the ground. And now they don't really have elections. They have people who pretend to be in elections, and their names are Maduro, for instance. His name is bandied about because he has apparently, according to even nonpartisan sources in the United States, it looks like he stole that election. Well, that's very, very common in communist / dictatorial governments, is they don't really allow elections. They'll allow them because they want to seem like they're popular. An election makes you look like you're popular, but they don't allow a real election. So that brings me to my next point. Not only do they go after political opponents and destroy them by whatever means necessary using their power, they also jail political dissidents without trial.
Ooh. Yeah, that's definitely something communists do.
Is it something Democrats do?
Into the gulag.
I'm challenging you here because I know the answer to this question.
Yeah. The closest example I can come to is like you have the right to a speedy trial.
Yes.
And so like if you're arrested and you can't post bail, you go to jail. So the idea would be, okay, you're in jail, you can't post bail, you are not guilty of what you've been accused of, you are just accused. So therefore you should be able to go before a judge, before a jury, plead your case and get your case resolved as fast as possible. If they find you're guilty, you go back to jail. If they find that you're not, you're freed. I don't know that that's happening in the United States.
This is happening in the United States. I'm actually interviewing a guy this weekend on my weekend show named Jake Lang. He was at the Capitol on January 6th. We have no idea if he did anything on January 6th because he's never had a trial. He's been in federal prison for 3 years with no trial. Now, a little bit of a background and maybe preview on this guy. He recently was thrown into solitary confinement because he keeps using phone cards to call media. He's pretty good at doing media. And so he uses his phone time to do interviews with places that'll talk to him. He has been in jail for over 3 years with zero trial. So there might be a charge against him.
Had any hearings or anything?
Well, here's what's really funny. He was supposed to have his first hearing / trial in October of this year, or maybe it was earlier. They pushed it back. Now, here's why you go, I think that might be political. They pushed his hearing back to November 4th, the day before the election. They also have been putting this guy in with MS-13 gang members because he thinks they're trying to get him killed. That's happening in America right now. Who's doing it? It ain't Republicans. It's Democrats doing it to political dissidents. Maybe he's guilty.
Maybe he is.
We don't know.
He probably is guilty. Guilty of what? We don't know.
We have no idea. I mean, he maintains that he's innocent, but we don't know.
I mean, if he was in the Capitol, he was at the very least trespassing, right?
He didn't go in the building.
Oh, he didn't go in the building.
He was outside it. But my point is, we're there. We're there. And this guy only gets out of jail based on who gets elected. That's where we're at in America. Last one. They are extremely hostile. Communists are extremely hostile to religion.
Oh, yeah.
That's 100%,
right? Got another Marx quote, or maybe this is Stalin. Religion is the opiate of the masses.
Yeah.
They say that, they treat it like, it's an affront, because whenever you have a strong faith or a strong religious belief, you're not putting your trust in the government. You're relying on something, on a higher power, and they want to be the higher power. There's nothing above the state in a communist dictatorship or in a communist regime. Nothing. It is to be the end all and be all, who you look for your provision.
And I ended on this one because it's the number one issue to me, because I still really hope that there are Democrats who will not allow this. I know many people who lean left, or maybe even fairly far left, who have a faith. And I don't know what that is. I don't know how deep it is. Like, they don't talk about their Christian faith a lot, but I know that it's there. And so my hope is that could be, no pun intended, the salvation of the party, that these people start to speak up and go, look, this stuff isn't cool. The stuff that we're seeing the Democrat Party do, it gets swept under the rug a lot by the left because it does look pretty commie, and it is communist.
Well, I mean, communist, but just totalitarian in general.
Yeah.
It's
communist is more economic.
Yeah, it's very antithetical to the American ideal, to the idea that the United States was, founded on. I mean, they wanted to tax tea, so we threw it into the harbor, and it was like nothing as far as a tax goes. And, it was very much about that rugged individualism, that ability to go out and to make something of yourself without the government interfering too much in your life. And what you're seeing now from the Democrat Party is this idea, or this effort to control every aspect of your life. And it's really ironic that Tim Walz is out there saying, mind your own dang business. That's like, one of these parties is trying to get into my business, and it isn't the Republicans.
Well, this is why we're opening up this conversation to you. We're going to look through some of the socials and just see what you're saying about this, because I'm curious. We made a lot of assertions here. I want to know what you think about these things. But also, we've got this new little toy that we're using on the Odyssey app that allows you to communicate with us by leaving a brief message. And we're monitoring those right now. We've got a couple. We'll play those in the next segment, but we'll see if you've sent us any more in that last segment. We'll try to kind of catch up quick here. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you just tuned in, go to the Odyssey app, click on 97.1. There's a little microphone next to the Listen Live button. If you hit it, you can record a message and send it to us. We'll try to turn those around quick. See how this goes. We've never really done it before. So stick around. This is the Annie Fry Show.
The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Summer is here, which means pool days, beach trips, and yeah, you guessed it, traffic jams. Oh yeah, and heat waves. Don't let summer catch you by surprise. Get the local news you need, no matter what you're up to, with the free Odyssey app. And never miss a beat with alerts on breaking stories sent directly to your phone. Listen today on the free Odyssey app. That's AUDACY.
Public service announcement from Bart Inman, Air Conditioning. School starting 2024. So all the juniors and seniors, or possibly even the sophomores, but let's just say if you just know school's not for you because it bores you, trade schools is an option for you. A lot of the high schools have it. For your junior and senior year, you can receive credit upon graduation of high school, get a very, very good job in the trades. When I say very good job, you're building America, you're building the school that you're sitting in, you're building the house that you live in. You get great pride in building something every single day. You don't want to go to college, pick a trade school. I'm partial to Rankin Technical, so pass this along. If you're not in the trades, or if you're a parent or your grandparent, speak with your child or your grandchild. Remember, boys or girls, the trades are available, and you're not putting your kids in debt for a useless piece of paper. God bless.
Attention Missouri Medicaid members. If you need assistance with daily living, you can receive a free service from Freedom Care in your own home from a loved one. With Freedom Care, you decide who provides your daily care with help preparing meals, bathing, laundry, transportation, and more. A family member or friend that gets paid instantly after every shift. It's all funded by Medicaid and 100% free to you. Call now to check your eligibility. New to Medicaid, the Freedom Care family will guide you through enrollment, making it stress-free for patients and caregivers. With over 5,000 five-star Google reviews, we've perfected at-home care for Medicaid members and caregivers. This service is free to you through Medicaid, and with our InstaPay app, caregivers are paid instantly. So go to freedomcare.com or call 314-557-7915. 314-557-7915. 314-557-7915.
The pitch.
Do you dream about calling Cardinals games?
Goldschmidt swings and he hits.
If so, the Missouri Broadcasters Association Sportscasters Forum is for you. Learn about play-by-play reporting, interviewing, and working with pro athletes from the best broadcasters in the business. John Rooney, Chip Carey, Rick Horton, Brad Thompson, and more. The Sportscasters Forum is Thursday, September 19th at Live by Lowe's. Tickets include 3 educational sessions, lunch, and a ticket to that evening's Cardinals game. For details, go to MissouriBroadcasters.org.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Installation Studio. Air Comfort Service is proud to support Greater St. Louis Honor Flight. Sign your veteran up for the Honor Flight today at GSLHonorFlight.org. And for heating services, visit AirComfortService.com.
On-time news. On your time. Download the Odyssey app and dip in whenever you want. And stay on top of what's happening. 97.1 FM Talk on the Odyssey app. This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Fry Show.
Brad, do you like this song?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
This whole I don't even know. Like, is this from the '60s?
It's a remake
of a.
I was trying to bait you.
Yeah, this whole genre of songs is just not for Brad.
Actually, I think this was technically 1970. This is the Beatles.
Oh, no.
But it's a remake of a Beatles song.
Yeah, I was gonna say this says Amy Mann and Michael Penn.
You know what? You're right. There is a whole genre of stuff that was made like in the 60s
this,
through
like,
the early 70s. It was like hippie driving music.
Yeah, I hate it.
I actually
shocker.
like it. Yeah, shocker. I like it. I like some of that stuff, but it is so free love. Man, if you go home and listen to Donovan tonight.
No, I'm not going to do that to myself. I'm just going to write the name Donovan down so I know to avoid it.
Man, that is the epitome. This is the Annie Fry Show. Ryan Wiggins and Brad Range here filling in for Annie today. Got about a half hour left in the show. I want to remind you to vote in the YouTube live chat poll. Will there be any more large surprises before the election? Yes or no? And then let us know what you think will happen if it's a yes. We kind of opened up the conversation in the last segment about the difference between Democrats and communists. It really, I didn't even mention this, but it was really based on a question that Hillary Clinton got in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
that somebody asked her, what's the difference today? And I don't think this was like a hostile journalist. I think it was because
it's like,
Bernie,
here's a softball. This will be easy.
Yeah, it was like the Bernie Sanders moment in time. And they said, what's the difference right now between a Democrat and a socialist? And she couldn't really answer that question. And we've been thinking about that ever since as a nation. What's the difference between a Democrat and a socialist?
Can I ask you a question about this? Because I wonder, what's the difference between a Democrat and a socialist was the question that they asked her, and she couldn't really answer it. And it's just like, do you think that's because she didn't know what one or the other were? Like, she's like, I'm a Democrat, I can answer what that is, but I don't really know what a socialist is. And my thought, I expand that out because we think that the Democrat policies, especially as of late, are very socialistic, the push for Medicare for all and all of this other stuff. Do you think the average American really understands what a socialist is? And therefore they think, oh, these are just nice policies because we've packaged them in a way.
Like they're social programs almost?
Yes.
No, I'm not sure because the definition of socialist is really fluid and it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I don't know if this is maybe that's why that was a tough question, is because Bernie Sanders might call socialism one thing and Hillary might call it something else.
Bernie Sanders is like, well, it's important to know that I'm a democratic socialist. That means that we vote for
We
it.
vote our socialists in.
Yeah.
Oh, good. To me, and I'll just define this just off the cuff here. To me, what I was always taught a socialist is that the government kind of controls all of big business and lets some small business exist. So it's like light communism, which is why I went full bore into communism here, because I'm like, well, let's go all the way with this, not just halfway.
Got another Marx quote for you. He said
Please.
the only reason that that socialism exists is a stepping stone to communism.
Well, that makes
the plan of
perfect sense.
socialism is to just move you into full-fledged communism. Because you can't get them all the way in.
No, and you never stop. You never stop at socialism. Go, oh, everything's fine here. I mean, look at any social movement over the last 40, 50 years. It never stops at some given moment. You go, okay, we're fine here.
The whole premise of Biden's campaign was we need more government to fix this. Give me more power so I could he turned he got rid of all the executive orders and all the rules for the southern border and threw the doors wide open. And then what he did was he's like, hey, you got to give me more power and more money so that I can do this. Anytime you hear a Democrat solution to anything, it involves more power to the government and more spending. This is the two things that it's a hallmark of every Democrat solution to anything is just give us more power and give us more solution. It's like
more spending.
Yeah. You can't just, they can't back up and say, okay, this didn't work. We're going to try a different policy. We're going to throw more money at the crap that we've been doing that already doesn't work.
I just wonder how many Democrats, and that's the reason I'm bringing this up, is because I drove by, true story, yesterday. I live a couple blocks from a kind of main street in my town. And on that it's not Main Street, but it is a main thoroughfare. And on that street, all of a sudden yesterday, political ads or political signs popped up. And I'm like, wow. And I first saw one and I was like, oh, hey, that person always has Democrat signs in their yard. There's the first Kamala one that I've seen of the season. And the Kamala sign said, no hate, no violence. And I'm like, that's the message? Okay. But I wondered if that person, and then I turned the corner and I'm driving down that main thoroughfare, and there were about 4 or 5 more who all had that same Kamala sign. So somebody from the campaign had come through, knocked on the doors and said, hey, I know you're a Democrat. Let me put the sign in your yard.
Yeah.
And it happened all at once.
Yeah.
And I saw one guy in between these 6 houses, maybe less than that, who had Trump Vance and an American flag. And these Democrat houses, man, they were putting those signs right on their property lines next to that guy. And he was doing it right back. And I'm like, it's kind of funny. I wouldn't want to be involved in the street because it's kind of hostile. But I wondered as I was driving by, do these people, based on no hate, no violence, which is on the sign,
no hate, no violence.
That's what the Kamala sign says.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see them. You will see them from now on. No hate, no violence. Do they realize how closely these policies mirror communism? And I did not know the answer to that question. That's why didn't know I was going to host today, but I had kind of prepared this for my own show and thought, well, shoot, let's talk about this because I really don't know. My disappointment in looking at our chat is there's quite a few leftists who are there, and we know there are quite a few left-leaning people who listen to the show. They did not defend any of this. And I don't know if that says something or what, but I'm looking at the comments. I don't really see a defense as saying, no, Democrats are very different. Here's why. Because that's what I was looking for, is somebody from the left to say, no, here's a big difference. Here it is. There's nothing.
Right. You know, you talk about prosecuting political opponents, and they don't see it that way.
I understand that.
They don't look at that. This isn't a
that.
prosecuting. We're not doing that. Well, we kind of are, but it's justified because this is a bad guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's how they play you guys.
I totally
That's how they're
agree.
playing you.
But I was expecting some arguments like that, and I see none. And I'm actually fairly disappointed in that. And unfortunately, it seems to prove my point that I'm not sure that the average Democrat voter realizes how closely Democrat policies now are in lockstep with socialism for sure, and probably communism, and we're getting closer and closer and further down that spectrum. Now, I start a couple comments here that since I said, hey, why don't you let us know? One person says, the right needs to understand the Constitution won't keep the U.S. from communism or fascism. Russia had a very strong constitution before the Soviets took power. That's a good point. Jonathan says, in today's America, Democrats are the closest party to communism. I think that's the point I was making. Harsh Truth says, taxes are socialism. The U.S. was a very rich country without an income tax for a very long time. That is also very true. I learned that from watching Twilight Zone because a guy goes back in time and there's no income tax. And that was in the 60s when the income tax was not really that high. I mentioned this new feature that the Odyssey app is allowing us to kind of tool around with. So if you go to the Odyssey app and you click on 97.1, you click on the microphone next to the Listen Live button, you can leave comments that we will receive. Now, these are just the ones that have been thrown into my folder, so I apologize if I don't get to all of them. But quite a few people leaving messages, which is kind of fun. Some of them are about the topic we've been talking about. Other ones are just telling me and Brad how much we suck. Maybe I'll play those too. Here's the first one. This is Jerry. He's saying there's not much of a difference between commies and Kamala followers. I guess we'll listen to it.
Talking about Kamala Harris followers. Those would be commies too. But then again, there's not much difference between commie followers and communists. Thanks.
All right, that's cool. Let's see. The next one here is from Chris.
Hey, Brad and Ryan, this is Chris. So the left likes to act like they're Robin Hood. They're going to steal from the rich. They're going to give to the poor. They can do all the well-intentioned policies they could ever imagine, no matter how inefficient they are, no matter how devoid of all oversight they are, no matter how much corruption seeps into that much money and makes it back into their coffers for elections and campaign funds. When in reality, the only way they can pay for that much is borrowing and printing money, which are inflationary pressures, which rob from everybody equally. And the middle class and the poor get hurt the most by this. So they end up being the sheriff of Nottingham, acting like Robin Hood, and it's a farce. And if you can't figure it out after the last 4 years, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I would echo that. It's actually disappointing, and I've been feeling this way too, that you go, man, what's it going to take for people to go, yeah, this isn't a good path. Like, I'm paying more for everything. Let's just keep doing that.
Well, it's not that they don't realize that this isn't a good path. They just aren't realizing who is actually to blame for it.
That's true. That's true. We all recognize the problems. We just diagnose them differently. We have been saying, Brad and I have been talking about how we're the B team. And Annie, when Annie's here, it's the A team. When she's not, she had a really bad migraine earlier, right before the show, and so we kind of scrambled to get things together. And I've been hosting today.
I did get an update from her, so she says she's on the upswing. She's on the backside of it.
Okay,
so that's good.
Because it was a pretty bad one. We have some well wishes here to Annie, so I'll play this one.
Just wanted to drop in and send Annie some well wishes. Hoping she gets better soon. Really looking forward to her return tomorrow. kind of surprised how well Brad and Ryan are doing. They really haven't done anything silly in the first hour and 45 minutes.
We're very serious people.
Shocking. Just kidding. Kind of. All right. Much love, y'all. Keep up the great work. Balls out.
Oh, that's balls. Regular listeners, we get to know your screen names. And you've probably heard us mention balls before. Last one I'm going to play before the break. This is kind of fun. I mean, it's a new tool that we're just kind of messing around with here. If you want to leave a voice message for the show or for the station or whatever, we will hear all of these. You go to the Odyssey app, click on the microphone. That's how you do it. This one is from Timothy. I'm told this one is kind of long, but that it's kind of funny. So I'm just going to play the whole thing, and we'll just go to break.
Yeah, there's going to be more going toward Donald Trump because they're Democrats. They're as crooked as the letter S. Man, they are as crooked as a mountain road. They're as crooked as Bonnie and Clyde, which would be fitting. Because, you could call one of them Bonnie and the other one Clyde. Anyway, yes. And also, you guys ain't the B team. Because, you guys know if it's normally the A team when Annie's there, because her name starts with A. Well, what if, you guys might be the A1 team, because, you guys are real good. Okay? You guys are better than that steak sauce A1. But anyway, you guys have a good day. Standing solo in the...
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Fry Show.
At Neovite, our goal is to create safe, dependable multivitamins to support your everyday nutrition when you need it most. That's why we've formulated Neovite 50-plus multivitamins with 20 daily ingredients, including B vitamins for energy support, vitamin C for immune support, and Dr. Abicki's 4-ingredient proprietary blend that you won't find in any other multivitamins. Neovite 50-plus multivitamins come in 2 specifically designed formulas to help support your nutritional needs. Neovite Men's 50-plus multivitamin for men 50 and older, and Neovite Women's 50-plus multivitamin for women 50 and older. With a 4.8 out of 5-star rating on Trustpilot, you can be sure you are getting quality nutritional support with Neovite. Support your best life today with Neovite 50-plus multivitamins. Available at your local Dierbergs, Schnucks, and online with our easy-to-use monthly subscriptions at neovitin.com. That's neovitin.com. neovitin.com.
If you're considering new windows, there's nowhere else to go but Window World. Mark Cox here. My friends at Window World are doing something now they've never done before. That is offering up to 36 months interest-free financing for your purchase. So you get the great windows put in now, you get the energy efficiency, the great look, and then you have 36 months to pay for it. How about that? Window World has been around for a long time, and their reputation speaks for itself. They are highly rated in the Better Business Bureau and all of the rating agencies. They're big supporters of our St. Louis Blues. And here's the thing. If you mention you heard this on the Mark Cox Morning Show in 97.1, you're going to be entered in a drawing for 4 Blues tickets during the upcoming season. And that's great. They're going to pick a winner every month, and good luck to you. If you need new windows, I'm telling you, Window World is the way to go. 314-993-1800. That's 993-1800 or WindowWorldSt.Louis.com. Mark Cox here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how to link to the market without the risk. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go online to retirementkey.com.
We all have someone we love, like the favorite lyric in our favorite song. You can't imagine life without them. Cancer screening tests can help keep the person you love around longer by detecting changes before cancer develops, or catch it early when it may be easier to treat. And many tests are available for free or are covered by insurance. It's time to sound like a broken record. Tell all your friends and family, I love you. Get screened. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn more.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules.
Today's YouTube live chat poll. Will there be any more large surprises before the election day?
And
yes.
where?
And where? Where will they? We want to know what they are, where, when, why, and how.
Avoid it.
All of them. Yes, we want to know everything. Will there be any more large surprises before Election Day? Yes or no? Jump on Annie's YouTube page and vote in the YouTube live chat poll. The time is 2:44. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
JerryKelly.com.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Man, you can just tell that the music was not picked for a Brad and Ryan show.
Who picked this?
Well, that would have been Carl Middleman.
Did he know that Annie wasn't going to be here?
No, this happened afterwards.
Oh, man. What's weird is that I use this song as like my entrance music when I walk into a boss's office.
I can see our boss's face when you do that, too.
And I walk in just a little sexy.
You just playing it on your phone?
Yeah. I bring that up because I brought up some signs, according to Google, that you're about to get fired. That's not one of them. That was not on the list. Yeah, but I thought what we would do here, Brad, since we kind of had to take over the show today, is that we would apply these to Annie. Like, does Annie feel this about me or you? And then we would know whether she was going to advocate for
I just want to be on record. I don't think she feels threatened by us at all.
Well, no, not threatened is not the right word. Because what do you think that your manager's behavior? We're applying this to Annie here, though. Changes. Your manager might stop asking for your input, or their behavior towards you might change. Annie hasn't contacted me at all today. So no, she's communicated with you, and she's had a terrible migraine, but I don't know why she wouldn't communicate with me. So I'm assuming that she wants me fired based on the lack of communication. She's communicated with you, so you must be fine.
I'm feeling all right with that.
But she's
you though, man, I'd be worried.
She's like laying in bed, like, oh my, you kidding me? Why? You're not texting me enough, Annie. Make me feel better. The next one is your tasks are reduced. You might have fewer tasks, or your duties might be transferred to other people. I feel very secure today because we've done way more than usual.
Yeah.
So I think we're fine here. You're not invited to meetings. You might be excluded from important meetings or events. Have you ever actually gone through any of this? We're just kidding, but.
Actually gone through?
Yeah, where you're like, uh-oh. I'm not in on the social club anymore.
With a job?
Yeah.
No. With a girl? Yeah.
Man, I know. I thought the same thing. Like, this stuff applies to relationships way more.
She's not texting me anymore.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
You're not invited to meetings. You're not invited to anything. You might be breaking up. Your performance is criticized. Your manager might criticize your work more often, or your performance appraisals might be poor.
Yeah, but maybe you're being bad at your job, which is why you're getting poor appraisals, which is why he's or she is.
Yeah. Well, you might be fired because you're bad at your job.
Yeah.
These might be signs
you're getting bad appraisals.
Need to be fired.
Uh-oh. Means you're not doing a good job.
You're not getting raises. You might not be getting the raises, promotions, or bonuses you expect. I hope everybody is listening to this. I want more raises. I want them multiple times a year.
Again, this might be a sign that you're just not good at your job.
You're given unattainable goals. Now, this one I actually have seen before.
Where they're like, do this. There's no way they can do this. And then now they've got a reason to let you go.
Have you ever seen this before?
No, I've heard about it, but I've never seen it.
Oh, yeah. I've seen this before at a TV station I was at once where there was some guy that was like, he just fell out of favor with the management, and he started getting jobs that were way overworked. He had a family. They were like, why don't you come in all day Saturday and Sunday? And he's like, why don't you do 15 shows instead of 2?
Were they trying to develop a reason to get rid of him, or were they hoping that maybe he would get rid of himself?
I think it was both.
Okay.
I think they were trying to get him to hate his job so much that he just left on his own. Because it is really not the easiest thing to fire somebody if you don't have some. That's why they do all the performance evaluations. I hate. This is government stuff. Again, this is more government stuff. That if somebody's doing a bad job, you should just be able to be like, look, because if you're doing a good job, your employer's going to want to keep you around.
Yes.
I'm not saying there's never anything unfair that happens. There's always going to be unfair things that happen. But we've tilted the scale in the favor of the employee a lot. And some of that's good, but some of it, like the overuse of government to protect employees, for instance,
has created some of these.
Well, it's not even beneficial to the employee all the time. And it's not protecting you from anything, like filling out timesheets. There are laws in place in the United States that say if you work a certain amount of time, you have to fill out a timesheet every week. It's incredibly cumbersome to go in and fill out a timesheet in an electronic system that's going to take you an extra 15 minutes out of your day every single week to do that does nothing.
It's kind of like having an uninvited negotiator come in. So you and I are working on a contract and we're going to do something, and this person just comes in off the street. Hold on. Brad, I got you.
Yeah.
Ryan, he wants this too. And you're sitting there as an employee going, no, I don't.
Yeah. Because if you really thought that was going to protect you from overworking, your employer would understand that completely separately from the government stepping in and saying, fill out a sheet.
Well, but you as an employee also have agency, and you can be like, I'm not agreeing to that.
Yeah. It's not as if you're like bound by
it's like the government needs to make sure you get paid for the work that you're doing. It's like you make sure that you get paid for the work that you're doing because you say, I want this much money, and you don't agree to the job if you don't think the salary is adequate.
Yes. There's just so many regulations that on paper, I could even see if you're a politician, and most of the time I'm like, no, politicians are awful. These people know what they're doing, and they're terrible people. This is one of those situations where I don't think that they're trying to hurt people.
They're trying to help you change your tire, and they're setting your car on fire in the process.
Yeah, they're trying to help you, but they're adding like 4 layers of government to help you. And all it does is cost the business a lot more money. And then there's less money to go around, and then there's less work. It's just like minimum wage. Like, it's the same thing. Like, let's raise minimum wage because that helps people. The question I always ask is, well, why'd you stop at 15? Why not $40 an hour? Why not $100 an hour?
Because forcing a fast food company to pay their employee $40 an hour is just ridiculous, Ryan.
But that's why it's such a great question. It's because you ask the question.
So what is the line?
Yeah, where's that line then? Oh, it's where the company starts to lose money and can't afford. Oh, is it? Are you sure? Because I think you may have passed that. You look at California, look at all the businesses that are just closing left and right because they can't pay minimum wage.
Unless you bake bread.
Oh, we've got like 3 minutes left. Should we talk about Gavin Newsom? I don't think so.
No, let it go. We'll just take the shot and go.
Yeah, okay. Totally separate subject that I really intended to bring up in one of my Wiggins America, like school age themed ones. If you haven't figured it out, Wiggins America usually has a theme, and I just find a bunch of stories within that theme, and we all have a good time.
We're having fun, aren't we?
Yeah, we're having a great time. This is a story out of, this is Georgia, where schools across the U.S. have been introducing yoga, meditation, and mindfulness exercises to help students manage stress and emotions. As the depths of student struggles with mental health became clear in the aftermath of COVID-19 pandemic, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention last year endorsed schools' use of the practices. How does that hit you?
Funny story. So I used to be a substitute teacher.
Yeah.
And I substitute taught for a PE teacher. So they had girls PE and boys PE, and they had me fill in for the girls PE teacher. And one of the what do you call it, segments or modules that they did was yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is a physical advantage to it, stretching and physical fitness and stuff like that.
Right.
So I don't really have a problem with schools doing yoga. What you described isn't what I just described, though.
That's kind of where I was going with this.
Yeah.
There's a lot more than just, it comes under the guise of like relaxation.
Mm-hmm.
But when they start chanting Om and like doing spiritual meditation.
Yeah.
I'm like, my Christian kids aren't going to do that. This article goes on to say that yoga and mindfulness represent, this is the criticism, represent a form of social emotional learning, which has become a political hot point with many conservatives who say schools use it to promote progressive ideas about race, gender, and sexuality. Now, I didn't think about the race, gender, and sexuality angle of this, more just are you introducing spiritual elements that I'm not okay with? But then the amazing thing is the article proves the point by in the next sentence saying, but advocates say the programming brings much needed attention to students' well-being. When you look at the numbers, unfortunately in Georgia, the number of children of color with suicidal thoughts and success is quite high. So they immediately go, that's not true. We're not using race and gender in here. Look at the number of students of color who need this. I think you just proved the point. Everything in these institutions comes back to, and I had an article too that I was going to get to, but we're almost out of time, about homelessness. And it's a really sad article. It's talking about the levels of homelessness that are rising. And it just breaks it down by race. I'm like, I don't care. I want less homeless people. I don't care what color they are.
People are people.
Do you have the results of the YouTube live chat poll? Or am I putting you on the spot here? We're almost out of time. All right, Brad, producer Brad.
All right, producer Brad, with 239 votes, will there be any more large surprises before Election Day? 93% of you said yes.
Wow.
Yes,
that's
there will.
Way higher than I thought, because I really don't know. Based on recent history, I almost have to say yes to this because things happen so fast and we're so close that it's like the pot's about to boil over. Something probably will happen. I just hope it doesn't. I really don't. I don't want more. Just let people vote on policy. All right, we are going to turn it over to Mark Reardon. Annie Fry will be back tomorrow, and we'll see you then.
Are you ready to smell better naked? I'm Dr. Shannon Klingman, the OBGYN creator of Lumi, the whole body deodorant that's clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours on pits, feet, privates, and beyond. It's pH optimized to safely and effectively control odor anywhere you have it, but wish you didn't. Plus, it's proven to work better than a shower with soap alone. Whether you shower twice a day